ICC, where he presented the titles to about 250 people. President Kenyatta said the plan had been a great success in his administration and urged Kenyans to elect leaders who would develop with the good job achieved thus far.
And in this context, given the importance of land resource and the overall national development agenda, I do urge nyinyi wale mtachagua, msichague watu ambao watatuweka gia ya reverse kuturudisha kule tumetoka. Tunataka wale ambao watasongesha hii agenda na kuhakikisha kwamba kila Mkenya ako na haki yake na mali yake, sio kuturudisha kwa enzi ya wizi na mambo mengine. Kuna wengine na hawakuwa na kazi nyingine, kazi yao ilikuwa kuzunguka, wanaamuka asubuhi kuzunguka Nairobi, kuzunguka Mombasa, kuangalia pahali ambapo hakuna mtu, na hii ni ya nani, na hii ni ya nani. Hiyo pia ni enzi zilizopita. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo inaweza kutendeka tena.
Various cabinet secretaries in collaboration with the president will be responsible for distributing the title deeds to beneficiaries in various parts of the country. Lanciers Farida Karnei has said that the use of a digital system to keep land records has been instrumental in ensuring that more people get the crucial document for their personal use.
Your Excellency, this is one of the 4 strategic programs you directed us in your second term to build on. And this is one of the programs, the National Titling Program. We are very proud of, Your Excellency, because it has made a lot of difference. In the last year, Your Excellency, you are here to give titles to Samburu women, people who've never seen a title document since they were born, I guess, as my peers would say. So, Your Excellency, this program is one program that we are very, very proud to be associated with.
The digital land reform program known as Arde Sasa was launched in 2016 to simplify and expedite the government's plan to ensure Kenyans own their land legally. In the same year, the Community Land Bill was signed into law where the community is allowed to register their land and be given a title deed. Now, Azimio presidential hopeful Raila Odinga will today be headed to Moyale Marsabit County, where he will be selling the Azimio ticket. This as Odinga continues to sell his agenda to the pastoral communities. Yesterday, he was in Samburu County, where he assured the locals that should he get to power, he will construct a slaughterhouse and a leather factory that will benefit the locals.
Livestock insurance, ili kama ng'ombe yako inakufa wewe unapata pesa kutoka kwa serikali, ili wafugaji wasio kila mara kwa mara kama kuna kiangazi wanapata hasara kubwa. Ndio tunaleta kichinjio pale ambaye wale wanyama wanaweza kuchinjwa, alafu ile ngozi ambayo tunapata tunatengeneza naye leather ya kutengeneza naye viatu na kadhalika.
This as his running mate Martha Karua met with the Muslim community in Nairobi, where she urged them to turn out in large numbers and vote them in for the asking that just like other Kenyans, they play their role of putting the government in check.
I and my captain, we actually do recognize that we are imperfect human beings, but our commitment to you and to Kenyans is that we will try to do our best and we will bank on you to remind us when we veer off course.
Meanwhile, Kenya Kwanza leaders continue to accuse President Uhuru Kenyatta of leaving the country in a bad state due to the high cost of living that continues to affect Kenyans. Led by Deputy President William Ruto, the leaders blamed the handshake between the head of state and Raila Odinga, saying it interfered with the government's agenda of ensuring that Kenyans have sufficient food reserves. They say has contributed greatly in the cost of living.
Ile mpango ya agricultural transformation ambayo ilikuwa part of the big 4 ambayo ilikosa kuendeshwa kwa sababu ya mambo ya handshake na BBI na rege. Leo tuko na shida kubwa ya njaa katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Ametuacha na shida ya jamii kulishwa kwa nyumba kwa sababu hawakusimamia uchumi.
Kiangazi Kajiado kaunti ni kubwa mno. Mpaka saa ingine tunastuka ifikapo mwezi wa 8 inaweza hata adhiri mambo ya kupiga.
Paul Gisheru, the Kenyan lawyer facing charges of interference with witnesses at the International Criminal Court, will make his final submissions to the court Monday. The Hague-based court released a schedule indicating that the ICC prosecutor Gisheru will deliver their closing statement in the case on the 27th of June. This is News. I'm Dennis Asseto. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the investors.
It's Thursday and we already see some action on Outer Ring this morning. A little bit of traffic inbound, trying to connect then with the Thika Superhighway and other parts of the city. Just past your Pipeline Railway Station is where we're going to see some of that action, at least for now. It doesn't look too bad, but we're just going to keep an eye on things and hopefully they don't get crazy. It's day 2 of the Green Park terminus being opened and we saw some drama yesterday. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, that doesn't happen again today. Again, we're going to keep eyeballs there and see what will happen this morning as folks then have to go round and then onto Haile Selassie to get towards the Green Park terminus. All right, coming off Thika Superhighway, doesn't look too bad right now. Kiambu Road, free and clear, not an issue here whatsoever. Let's look at Westerns coming out of James Gishuru through to Wayakiwe, out towards the bypass. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. Still slim pickings in terms of traffic. Keep an eye on things this morning. See what it looks like in half an hour or so. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain
Good morning
times.
and how are you? Welcome to Kenya's
Okoh,
biggest
Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert.
2022. Bwana C.T. Muga.
Yes, Bwana Eric Latiff.
Hujambo?
Mimi kaka sijambo, sijui wewe.
Mimi niko salama kabisa.
Salama salmini.
Kabisa. Hofu na mashaka ni kwako tu.
Asante sana baba. Mimi sina shaka wala sina hofu.
Nataka kutume salamu kwa dada
Ndu, pokea salamu kutoka kwa kaka Eric Latiff.
Hey, my hofu and my
Yes,
my
anasema
shaka is fine, thank you.
Mtandao iko imara. Na watu wake ni wazima. Na kila kitu kiko bambam.
Kila kitu bambam. You well?
Fine.
How was your day yesterday?
My day was all right. I'm trying to circle back and see exactly
how all right it was.
All right. You know.
It was all right in the all right variety or just all right was all right.
It was irate. Yeah. I got some work done, so I'm happy for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chapter
3.
Chapter 3. You're making progress, Ndu.
You're making progress.
Yeah.
Chapter 3.
Yes. Yes. Very soon we'll be referring to Daktari.
And very soon you'll be in chapter 4.
Yes. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
How are you, Lakini?
I am very well. Thank you for asking.
Anytime.
Oh, yes. Nashukuru sana. Yeah, I don't take it for granted when you ask me these questions.
You see? I generally want to know.
Yeah. Today is Justice Thursday, right? And we'll be having a conversation around issues of justice, and we'll also have a conversation on issues of taxes. Guy, 7 days. Guy.
You've not done the business?
No.
Guy.
So we wait until the 11th hour.
Of course. Hurry up.
The manager in charge of agriculture and real estate sector, east and south of Nairobi tax office at the Kenya Revenue Authority, Walter Omata, will be with us in the studio to tell us how KRA is making it easier for you to file, and not just file, but most importantly, pay your taxes. Okay, so he's going to be our guest at 8 o'clock. Let's talk about how easy it is to file our taxes. At 7 o'clock, we'll be having a justice conversation, alternative justice systems, and what they're doing to accelerate access to justice. We've been talking about this. So the vice chairperson of the National Steering Committee on Implementation of the AJS is Dr. Steve Okoh. He will be with us at 7 a.m. to talk about this alternative justice system and the judiciary, how far it's going, what impact it's having so far, if any. Yes? Yes. Tell us about COVID.
All right, guys, we're looking at higher numbers today. 454 have tested positive for the disease from a sample size of 3,534. All right, so we're looking at a higher positivity rate in the country of 12.8%. And this is also on a day when the PS from the Ministry of Health told us that Kenya is officially in the 6th COVID wave. It comes as the ministry continued to lament over the low uptake of COVID-19 vaccines. We're still looking at pretty low numbers. The relaxation of containment measures by the ministry in March has seen the uptake drop from a daily average of 200,000 vaccinations per day in February to the current 15,000 per day. So just about 10 to 15,000 people are being vaccinated on a daily, when it was coming off of 200,000 just 3 months ago. PS Susan Machache expressed concern that despite counties having made positive strides in preparedness, the risk of the health system getting overrun is real in case of a more violent strain. She spoke during the launch of the accelerated COVID-19 vaccination campaign in Vihiga County. So we see once again that counties are scrambling to make sure that people then are vaccinated. The daily data, she said, shows an increasing number of cases. We have now confirmed that Kenya is in the 6th wave, and she's urging counties to accelerate vaccination rates in view of the current high positivity rate of more than 10%. And she emphasized the need to continue adhering to the public health and social measure as a personal responsibility. She said the wearing of masks when in contact with other people. So all you have to do is think, when will I be in contact with other people? Then you need to wear a mask. If you will be in contact with other people, she's saying, wear a mask. It is imperative that counties ensure that they have vaccinated all their eligible populations as quickly as possible to prevent further loss of lives from COVID-19 and reduce the likelihood of the emergence of new variants. So data to date shows that just 31% of the eligible population in the country has been vaccinated. The ministry is targeting to vaccinate all adults by the end of December 2022 and 50% of the teenage population between 15 to 17. But we know, according to Justice Anthony Mrima, that is not going to happen because there is now a stay order until the case is heard of those who petition the court to say, no, our children
What is the stay order? Is the stay order for no vaccination at all for people below 18 or without consent?
Do not vaccinate children without consent until the petition is
But
heard.
with consent, vaccination is going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So those two things continue.
16 minutes after 6, Kenya's biggest conversation is live streaming on SpiceFM KE on YouTube and Facebook. We're live, and I can see people are already online. If you are online, please say hello to us. We'll be doing our usual roll call this morning. And this is after we take a look at the weather forecasts.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Wait. Have you seen the message I've sent you? I always knew they can never be trusted, these guys.
Okay, I've seen it, but where did you get that information from?
Someone forwarded me the message and they say they got it from a very reliable source. I can never lie to you.
Okay, but what are these sources?
Sasa, now you want to interrogate me and I'm just forwarding as received. Wait, majameneni. Don't shoot the messenger. Me, I'm telling you.
How do you separate the truth from the lies and facts from opinion? The election season is a period where violence, votes, and many other incidents can be influenced or triggered by a news item. When was the last time you questioned the validity of the news you saw on social media, WhatsApp, tabloids, or blogs? Where do you go to fact check what you see or hear? Fumbua is a groundbreaking collaborative journalism project designed to tackle misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation ahead of the Kenyan elections in 2022. For more information and updates, follow Fumbua Kenya on Facebook, at Fumbua KE on Twitter, or fumbua.ke on Instagram.
Looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, we'll see highs of 22 and lows of 14. It's mostly clear as well at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 24. We'll see cloudy conditions as the sun does come up at some point. 13 will be the low. 13 degrees and cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 19 and lows of 13. 22 will be the high in a clear Eldoret, currently at 12. It's raining this morning in Mombasa at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 23. Also, the rain is coming down in Malindi at 26. We'll see highs of 28. 28 will be the high in a rainy Kisumu at 18. And it's mostly cloudy at 16 in Kakamega. It'll go to highs of 26. And lows of 14. Clear conditions at 19 in Kampala with highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 30 in a cloudy Dar es Salaam at 20. 8 degrees, slightly warmer today in Johannesburg. We'll see highs of 12 and lows of 7. And Lagos is clear at 25. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 24. 21 and clear in Kinshasa, highs of 30 back down to lows of 21. Looking out into Beijing, already at 32 degrees. Going into afternoon, we'll see highs of 36 and lows of 22. 18 degrees and cloudy in Paris, highs of 27. 26 will be the high in a clear London at 15, and it's 18 degrees and raining in New York coming into Thursday. We'll see highs of 19 and lows of 17.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
All right, 20 minutes after 6.
Everybody's online this morning. Jenga wa Kwendeka says, good morning, pamoja sana. And Bay wa Macha. Good morning. Macha is well tuned this morning. Loud and clear, Alex Jami is here with us. Olemwa is tuned in from Doha in Qatar. And Jeffrey Makori says, good morning. Tuned in this morning as well from Rarieda. That's Amimo. And Joshua Onsongo is tuned in from Isoge Esikimu. Okay. Kimeli is well.
Isoge
Esikimu.
That's the land of the Abagusi.
Isoge Esikimu.
Sure.
Wapi huko sasa?
Uko.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay.
Hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful people. Tuned in from Mazeras, Kilifi County. Looking forward to a great show indeed. Abraham is locked in this morning. Good morning. Jackson Kite is tuned in. Kitui, also Rose Mutia is there. And Benson Momo tuned in this morning. Lenny is following from Mombasa. Right. Chris Amolo says, good morning. Okay. And then William Munga, that guy, says, good morning. A Luo who speaks Kiswahili Sanifu should be investigated. Author unknown. Over to you, CT. Good morning from Kiambu County. That's where Lucy is tuned in from this morning. Okay. Lois says, good morning to Eric and CT from the leafy outskirts of Wayaki Way. Okay. Kindly invite Kenha so they may tell us why the works on Wayaki Way have stalled. This is not a question for generations to come. Telling you drama and just a little bit more. We see all of you online this morning and we say good morning and thank you for joining us. Karibuni sana.
Welcome everybody. CT, the day's proverb.
Final proverb from Pate.
You have the notebook?
Iko on the page.
Okay.
Choma kwa choma haichomani.
Choma kwa choma haichomani. Ndu. Translate.
Choma kwa choma. Nyama choma.
Yeah,
Haicho what?
I knew you were heading that direction.
Haicho what? Haicho?
Haichomani.
Burn. So we know that there's burn and then there's burning. N'est-ce pas? So if you burn me and I burn you back, we're both burning each other.
That's a good...
Yeah?
That's a good thought, but kuchoma could also mean to stab.
Yeah.
Right, stab you in the back. If I stab you, you stab me, we're both stabbing each other.
Yes.
But they say haichomani.
Haichomani, which means...
Oh, so we're not actually stabbing.
Well, 2 points that are meant for stabbing. Don't stab.
Don't stab each other. Ah, voila. Okay. That makes sense.
2 tips. Don't stab each other.
Okay.
You get it?
You need a soft landing in order for this tip to be able to stab.
You get it?
I get it.
You have got it, eh?
Yes. Yep. Well, let's look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? www.standardmedia.co.ke. Many stories being highlighted today. You know, the website has not just text, it has picture content, it has video content, and in some cases, even audio content. So if you go into this one particular platform, www.standardmedia.co.ke, you get it all. Please become a member of our online community. Log in today and register. What are you looking at, Ndu?
Okay, so again, another of these interesting stories. A gangster or gun dealer, we all saw the clips yesterday making rounds. An ordinary swoop by auctioneers to attach the property of a city businessman over office rent arrears running into millions unearthed a cache of guns and bullets, pulling the mask back on his past dealings. It's covered on page 2 and 3. But let's look at some highlights here. Mercy Kano, a murder. This gentleman presented himself to police in June 2011 as the owner of a dark Mercedes-Benz that was alleged to have dropped Mercy Kano's body on Wayaki Way on the night she was murdered.
What?
Okay? One incident that he had a run-in with the law. All right? Secondly, impersonation. In September 2003, he was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment for impersonating a former aide of President Mwai Kibaki in the name of Alfred Gitonga. 3, fake currency. In May 2019, he was arrested alongside 9 others for engaging in fake currency trade in a house in none other than Kilimani in Nairobi. Ahem. Number 4, land fraud. In August 2019, a court sitting in Nairobi found him guilty of transferring ownership of an 18 million shilling parcel of land in Lavington, Nairobi to himself and his accomplice by the name of Moses Dirango Itumia. Okay? So, here we see him splashed on the front page. Ken Wycliffe Okello Lugwili is escorted to a waiting vehicle by police officers outside the Kilimani police station after his arrest yesterday. He was arrested after a cache of guns and ammunition was found in his firm's offices at Applewood Park in Kilimani. So you wonder, what is going on here now? All right, I give you a bit of the details. Shock as auction attempt leads to a cache of arms. A swoop by auctioneers to attach the property of a city businessman over office rent arrears running into millions of shillings ended pulling back the mask on his past dealings. In what they described as a shocking twist, officers providing security to the auctioneers impounded an assortment of 22 guns and more than 500 bullets at Mr. Wycliffe Lugwili's office at the Applewood Park in Kilimani. Mr. Lugwili, whose firearm dealership license was suspended 3 years ago in unclear circumstances, was no stranger to controversy and shady dealings. It was learned that he had in the past been linked to land fraud, fake currency claims, and impersonation of a former president's aide with an intent to defraud business people of cash. He is always said to have been controversial by claimed ownership of a luxurious car that reportedly dropped off a woman who was killed in mysterious circumstances after attending a party in Nairobi in 2011. In 2014, a court sitting in Nairobi found Lugwili guilty of transferring ownership of an 18 million shilling piece of land in Lavington under the name Ken Lugwili and his accomplice by the name Moses Ndirangu. The land had reportedly been purchased by Mr. Edwin August Stillard and Mr. Suminder Sonia Stillard in 1993, who enjoyed in quiet possession until 2016 when they lost their original certificate of title, necessitating an application for provisional certificate. Okay. In 2018, court documents show that when the two landowners visited the Nairobi County offices, they were shocked to find out that the rent payment account bore the names of Ken Lugwili and Moses Ndirangu, and they were the official owners of the land. On inquiry on the rates department, they learned that the second and third defendants had caused a change of the ownership because of the change of the ownership details of the suit property from the plaintiff's names to their own names. Aggrieved, the owners filed a suit, and interestingly, the two suspects did not file a defense. The court heard that Mr. August and Mr. Sonia had never sold or transferred the property to any person. Long and short of the story, here he was, charged then for having transferred land to his name that did not belong to him. All right, so come back to yesterday when all of this ammunition then was found in his house, and all of these stories began to unravel. Documents seen show the suspect owed the tenant more than 6 million shillings in rent arrears, and this is what led to them calling the auctioneers. Upon auctioneers appearing at the house, they broke down the doors, and this is what they found. And they were in presence of the police service because, normally auctioneers would be accompanied by police. And it turned out to be, voila, the same man who 4 times previously had been in a run-in with the law.
Is this one a licensed gun dealer, gun holder?
So he had a license, which unfortunately...
License for?
A firearm license.
Meaning he could own firearms? He could
own firearms.
Not trade in firearms?
No, not a trade license, an ownership license, which then had expired 3 years ago. So up until 2019, this license was active. So this is again what led to their chagrin, because then entering into the house, just the sheer number of what they found had them thrown in a bit of a loop.
According to DCI, their tweet.
Oh, sorry, it's a firearms trading license. Sorry,
it's a firearms dealer.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it was withdrawn in 2019. It was a trade license. Okay? Now, according to his lawyer, they said, we don't understand what's going on here. We do not know what accusations. The issue is that the guns were recovered from his premises and brought here. That's it. We don't know anything else, but we cannot go ahead and make any kind of assumption because we do not know if there is a charge just yet. But he was arrested last evening, rather. Okay?
So we don't know.
We just don't know. All we know is that
we don't know.
Exactly. And there are just certain things that have happened. And that this man was linked to 4 other incidences in the last 10 years, which are, dodgy at best. So this is now being put together to see what could be the current issue.
Many things don't add up in this story.
Many, many, many things. It's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle that has pieces from different puzzles and that you're being asked to put together.
And according to that report, he transferred land to himself or property to himself.
Which was not his.
Yeah, but then how do you transfer it? You can't actually transfer it to yourself. The process, you can apply for the transfer, but you
somebody obviously did it for you.
They have to.
Yeah.
For the
It's an
transfer.
official function. It's government function.
Yes. And for that to happen, it means there needs to be documentation that authenticates that particular transfer. So it's not a one-sided affair as it's being presented here.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, who else was involved? Because for it to happen and for it to have actually been completed, other people were involved. And even this whole story, what certainly isn't being said is, who else does this person work with? 500 rounds of ammunition. 500.
Yes.
And firearms, how many?
72.
72.
Hold on. Yes.
By any estimate, those things are many.
Sorry. 22 guns and more than 500 bullets and quite a number of other things. 22 still is a high number.
My friend, even if you told me 5, they are many.
Even one.
Yes. When you look at a police post or a police station and the armory they have, how many weapons do you think they have in there?
So let me tell you exactly what was there, just in case you're interested in these kind of thing. Auctioneers forced their way into the offices in Kilimani and stumbled upon several Escort Magnum shotguns, 1 Benelli shotgun, 5 Quattro shotguns, 1 Savage shotgun, 1 Walther with 2 magazines, and a revolver with 2 magazines, an Ostia with 2 magazines, a Seska pistol with an empty magazine, and a total of 565 ammunition of different calibers. It was quite the buffet of ammunition.
The story also doesn't tell us how it is the auctioneer got into this particular saga.
The auctioneer got into the saga because it is said that he owed rent on this property.
Yes.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. They didn't tell us how. Was there a court order? Had they sent a notice? And had the 7 days elapsed? There's
a process.
There's a process.
Okay.
So maybe the process had been ongoing and this was now the final thing that put the nail in the
It would be
coffin.
a good thing if they indicated that the process had actually taken place. Because then I would stop asking these questions I'm asking.
Would you really?
This one is unraveling. The Communications Authority of Kenya is the one body that's mandated to regulate communications in the country, licensing all broadcasters, licensing telecom operators, licensing anybody who has any kind of radio. Those walkie-talkies of us. Everybody. All those are regulated by the Communication Authority. And the CA has been doing a lot of work. They have a fund called the Universal Service Fund, which enables us to enjoy easy access, quality, and affordable communication. They've used it to expand access to communication across the country. And now you see that over 96.4% of Kenyans have access to 3G or 4G mobile services. That is countrywide. 3G, 4G mobile service access. This is not a small thing. This is a big thing, and this thanks to the Communications Authority. The Communications Authority of Kenya opening our world. Let's take a quick break. 26 minutes to 7. We'll be back shortly after we take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Guess what? Cold Stone Creamery has amazing deals for you to indulge every day. This month, enjoy deals on 2 cups of creamy delicious ice cream from as low as 600 shillings and ice cream cakes from as low as 1,800 shillings. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
The University of Nairobi, the leading university in Eastern Central Africa, invites its alumni, well-wishers, and partners to the auspicious launch dinner of the UON Foundation on Thursday, 30th June from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Chancellor's Court, Graduation Square. The foundation will support the university in fulfilling its mission of teaching and learning, research, and community service. To attend, register and get your tickets on tikohub.co.ke for only 5,000 shillings. To support, donate, and inquire, visit www.uonfoundation.uonbi.ac.ke. The UON Foundation. Together for change. Standard Group's Farm Kenya initiative is the umbrella entity for all agriculture-related channels, activities and investments. The media platforms under the Farm Kenya initiative include the Smart Harvest Weekly Pullout in the Saturday Standard, KTN Farmers TV, a 24-hour agribusiness TV station, Maisha Kilimo, a weekly agriculture show on Radio Maisha, AgriTalk on SpiceFM's morning show The Situation Room, and Grind na Agribiz on Vibes Radio morning show Morning Vibes. Find us online at www.farmers.co.ke, an integrated website that creates and aggregates agri-content, hosts a digital marketplace, and wide range of agri-data. Other platforms include specialized events such as the annual Mkulima Expo, quarterly Farmers Kenya Breakfast, and dedicated social media platforms at Farm Kenya 254. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Something exciting is brewing. Women have boldly and courageously stepped forward. They have what it takes to be Miss President. Don't miss out on this new exciting season of Miss President 2, premiering on 30th June on KTN Home.
So, what are we looking at this morning? A bit of traffic here and there coming off of Mombasa Road, heading out into the city, but it's not too bad. Jogo Road is also pretty slow, back-to-back traffic, bumper to bumper, as you're getting to Landis and then out towards Kamkunji. We're not seeing just yet that drama that we saw yesterday, but still a reminder that the Green Park terminus is open this morning, and there's a folks who are going Gong Road, Arwings, Kodek, all have to alight and disembark at Green Park. You can no longer go to railways because, you just won't find anything, okay? Coming then off Uhuru Highway and getting into the city, we're still looking at that. And the Thika Superhighway, not too bad, at least for now. We're just looking at that Pangani underpass, which has some traffic. Probably about 7 o'clock, we'll see things wake up. Hopefully, you'll be gingered as well. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
20 minutes to 7.
Done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Looking at, remember there was a case somewhere in Nakuru of a woman whose husband, a gentleman of German origin who was living in Kenya, had passed away. The case states that the estate was worth over 100 million Kenya shillings. But now the twist in this particular tale was that the niece of this particular woman got married to this man. Okay? Remember we talked about the customary marriage that had taken place and what had happened. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, let me just walk you through the documents. 1960s. The lady, Nyambura, allegedly gets married to Lateman through Kikuyu customary law.
Okay.
In the 70s, Nyambura takes in her niece Wanjiku, raises her as her own. Okay? 1995, Wanjiku and Lateman enter an African Christian marriage. Okay? Wanjiku, remember?
Wanjiku is Nyambura's niece.
Yes, exactly.
Who was raised by Nyambura as her own daughter.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
2001 August, Lateman dies at the age of 75.
Okay.
2001, Wanjiku files a case in Nakuru court seeking letters of administration. 2007, Wanjiku is issued letters of administration to control the properties. Now, this matter is in court because Nyambura has gone and said, you know something? I was married to this man. Okay, so this other marriage, be it what it is, but If you're talking about letters of administration, you're talking about the right to property.
If they are widows, they are two widows.
Yes, it's not at now. What I find strange about this particular story is this. I genuinely find it strange. What I consider strange, I'm going to express in the form of a question. If this man didn't have an estate of this size and worth this amount, would these cases have gone to court? Would they even have been a case?
Highly unlikely.
Well, no.
I'm just asking the question.
So two things. If this woman took in her niece because she did not have her own children, Nyambura did not have children, brings in niece, raises niece as her own child.
Yes.
Litman, the husband to Nyambura, knows this is your niece. At some point, Wanjiko comes of age and they get into an affair with the man and they get children.
Yes.
So now to formalize this relationship, because there are children involved, they get into another customary marriage.
Yes.
Now, if there was no property left behind, there'd be nothing to make Wanjiko. Wanjiko had even gone to the States.
She was in the
She had
States.
relocated to the States.
Yes, she had.
There'd be nothing to make Wanjiko come back and start kicking a fuss about controlling property.
It goes beyond controlling property.
But the issue before that,
yes,
that Wanjiko had kicked Nyambura out of the home.
Precisely. And her claim was that her aunt was just a housemaid. And one of the houses in which Nyambura was living in was part of the estate of the late Letman, and she kicked her out of it. Now, it gets messy. It gets very, 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 very messy.
Aye. So what's the latest?
The case is still ongoing. The case is still ongoing.
And someone is due to testify.
Yes.
Aye. Now that we're on the topic of marriage, some things have happened in court with regards to interpretation of marriage. You know, so we know the law recognizes marriage in three ways: civil marriage, religious marriage, or customary marriage.
Yes.
Okay? Now, in the case of customary marriage, divorce follows the customary route. Religious divorce followed the religious route. For example, if you're married in Catholic does not recognize divorce. Now, issues.
You can annul it.
Yes.
Yes, there's that little detail, yes.
Civil, the law says that you get married through the ages office. In a civil marriage, you've got to stay married at least for 3 years before you guys can start contemplating divorce. Someone went to court and said, "What do you mean?" And the court agreed, yeah, what does that mean? If this marriage has reached that point where there are irreconcilable differences, let the people part ways. Don't force them to stay in it for 3 years. Okay? So you can end before 3 years lapse if you are in a civil marriage. That issue has been sorted in court. Secondary, the law recognizes grounds for divorce as three. Number one, adultery. Number two, cruelty. Number three, if you deserted the home. And you've got to go to court and you prove that you actually, the grounds that you're alluding to and accusing your partner of are actually real. There was a case that was before Justice Anthony Mrima between a couple named EAO, the wife, and SAA, the husband. They got married, they had children, they fell out of love. In this particular case, the legal fight between the two started in 2015 before a magistrate's court after the woman sought to divorce her husband over alleged cruelty and adultery. At the time, the woman had already moved out of the home. However, in his reply at that point, the husband denied the allegations and told the court that he really, really loved the woman. He urged the lower court to dismiss the case and order that she should return to their matrimonial home. Please, just tell her to come back. I love her. She's the one who left. Adultery, me. Absolutely no way. After hearing the couple's testimony, Senior Resident Magistrate Washira on March 30th last year declined to dissolve the marriage, saying there was no evidence. Aggrieved and determined to end the marriage, the woman appealed the decision, arguing that the trial court erred by not finding that she had enough grounds for a divorce. That's when it ended too before Justice Anthony Mrima. Justice Anthony Mrima sat and listened. They said, Your Honor, my Lord, they had the couple had tried to involve their pastor on 4 occasions to save this marriage. None was willing to compromise. He said, the evidence in this matter reveals that all is not well between these two parties. The parties have been living apart since 2015, when the woman moved out of the matrimonial home, and there seemed to be no change, even with the intervention of their bishop. The judge in his verdict last week observed that what was ailing the two was not fights or infidelity, but simply they did not trust each other. On perusal of this evidence and analysis of the trial court, I agree with the magistrate that none of the grounds were proven. According to the judge, the man ought to have been bold enough to calm the storm in his house by proving that he really loved the wife, if indeed he really loved the wife. He should have shown it to her. He said the marriage was racked with complaints that would appear trivial to an outsider, but they were the crust of disagreement between the two. And the judge said it appears the two have no respect for one another and is puzzled how they would live under the same roof. So under the circumstances, he says, the 3 grounds, none of them has been proven. But if I just say I cannot allow this divorce to proceed, I am not helping this situation, because clearly these two don't love each other anymore. They don't trust each other. If I force them to be together, it could even lead to something more disastrous. And therefore, I grant divorce.
Do you know what I think, though, Eric? Alternate conflict resolution mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
Mediation affords people in such conflict more time.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a court where there are a string of cases awaiting and you're more or less time bound to finish it. No. And you're given more time to actually delve into the issues and to find a compromise. You see, here, the judge is the one who finds a compromise for them. All right? I understand that the bishop couldn't assist. The matters between them did not really involve the church. Not really. Okay? And sometimes the question is, your pastor, the bishop, equipped to deal with those particular issues, really? It's a question I'm asking. Sometimes they're not. When it comes to relationships, my thinking, some of these things, even when they go to court, when they go through the judicial system, the alternative ways of resolving disputes perhaps ought to be followed.
What would you recommend in this particular case, if not the religious leader?
The religious
leader deals with these things on a bishop or a pastor deals with these things on a weekly basis. There's premarital counseling, there's marital counseling. They have been trained on counseling themselves, and couples counseling and couples therapy. They're dealing with couples on a daily basis.
They may be, but you see, they are going to apply a religious perspective on this matter, and the focus will be: do not part, do not separate, keep the marriage together. And sometimes the premise on which the marriage took place was the faulty one. So the problem was a problem in waiting. It was just a question of time before things simply went awry. Now, parting ways doesn't mean people become enemies. It simply means you acknowledge the reasons why you cannot live together. And I'm saying mediation helps you agree on the way, not necessarily faster, but on the way forward, and how you can now heal from this process and move on. You see, a court order is just an order and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, done, finished. I'm saying mediation gives the opportunity for the very thing you're saying, looking for marriage counselors and the like, so that even if the decision is to part, it is something that provides a healing process. Because if people have gotten to the point where they're getting married and they part, there'll be a lot of damage. Yes. And by the time they're thinking of divorcing, there has been damage anyway. there's been a knocking of heads, there's been conflicts. Now, the healing process is how you sort this thing out. Because if they just part, they're going to part as enemies. And whatever hurt you acquired, you walk away with it to the next relationship. And which also means that the next relationship is likely to be tumultuous. So all I'm saying is, sometimes the process of such...
what I'm asking, I get what you're saying. What I'm asking is, what sort of person would be a suitable mediator in this particular case?
I am saying the bishop, the pastor are useful. But within the church setting, there are people who are better trained than either the pastor or the bishop.
Or not even necessarily a church setting, even trained counselors.
Yes.
You have many psychological counselors. I mean, I understand that. And unfortunately, I think that just looking at the way, for a court to come in like this, and I think there are very many cases like that, whereby, unfortunately, the position that a lot of religious leaders would take is stick it out, try and work things out, whereby you're way past the sell date. So, I mean, I do agree that you can actually separate while still being civil.
The question, Eric, your question is a valid one.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, a counselor and all, right?
Yes.
So the issue here is the grounds for divorce.
I am saying the bishop should not be the one dealing with such issues.
The grounds for divorce, you cannot prove the grounds for divorce. Yes. There's an issue here in this marriage, and you guys are first of all going for some sort of counseling. One person comes and says, I want out of this home. What is it that this other mediator, let's call him secular mediator. So what's a secular mediator going to do?
You know, a counselor
is just going to listen and hear, okay.
No. A counselor is a mediator. What they then do is help you understand the reasons you have given for walking out of that particular situation. Because you may say one thing and yet it means something else. Or you may say what you're comfortable saying, but you're not saying what the real reasons actually are. What they do is help you get to understand the real reasons. Now, even when you part and you've come to terms with the real reasons why, that parting will serve the purpose for which it was intended. If you don't, the likelihood is that the very problems that arose in this particular union will arise in another one.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be separation. I think that in many cases, separation probably is the best option, like Mrima has said here. But there's a lot of damage that you go
you carry along with you.
You know? And I think that has to be circumvented. Because then you just taking the problem somewhere else.
Go to the next one.
Exactly.
Yes. The personal and emotional issues run very deep. And it takes a bit of time before even the individuals involved come to terms with the things that are really bothersome to them. Human nature, being what it is, leads us to blaming other people for problems that we have. We have a problem, but it's somebody else who has caused it, who has exacerbated it. Now, so getting someone to even understand their role, acknowledging, yes, somebody may have participated in it, but acknowledging your own role and then taking, as they say, ownership of it, it's a process. But when you do that, you have begun on healing. So even if the end result is that you part ways, you're parting ways when you're in a better position. Yes.
I hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So looking at the stories making headlines, tax audits abroad earned KRA 985 million shillings. Good number, right? The Kenya Revenue Authority last year netted in an extra 985.2 million following a series of tax audits abroad. A new report shows handing it a boost in collections to in a tough economic environment. So when the rest of you are complaining here about, can't buy unga for less than 200 bob, KRA seems to be doing well. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development said Kenya benefited from a tax transparency and exchange of information initiative that is aimed at beating tax cheats. The EOI program involves countries exchanging information on taxation to lift international transparency, combat profit shifting, and reduce tax avoidance and evasion. The amount netted in 2021 is the highest revenue gain since 2019, when KRA went big on the EOI initiative. In 2019, Kenya recovered 130 million shillings through the exchange program and 10.5 in 2020. It revealed that KRA in 2021 made 173 requests abroad for information on various taxes, or rather taxpayers and businesses, resulting in the huge extra revenue capture. So people were listening to KRA, going outside and saying, guys, our people, are they here? What are they doing? What are they up to? The questions were answered and they're able to rake in this. So it seems as though it's a good stream for them.
Okay. So IBC on Monday released the final 4 voter register.
Yes, it did.
They told us 22.1 million voters are registered to participate in this year's general election. One of the things that they also announced is that, in this election, we are going to rely only on the electronic register. What they've been doing is they've been having electronic register and then the book. When you go to the polling station, you are identified using the SIMS kit, the Teams kit. What's it called? That kit.
The kit.
Put your fingerprints. It identifies this is CT Muga, he's a voter, he's registered to vote in this particular polling station, right? And then you move to the next place where they check your name against this black book and they cross it out to show that, yes, Mr. Muga has come here. And then they give you the ballots. And then you go into the booth and then you put them in the boxes. Yes? Process. Now, IBC has said this one of crossing out on the hard book, we're not going to do it. Why? Because the last time there were allegations and accusations that hard book was also being used to play some games with voters. So they've said, we're only going to do electronic. Civil society organizations are like, oh, no way. The Kenya Human Rights Commission, Katiba Institute, ICJ Kenya, Haki Yetu, Inuka Kenya ni Sisi, AfriCorg, and the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium have gone to court and they're saying, no, IBC cannot just use the electronic register. How do we know that cannot be tampered with? What if technology fails on the day of the vote? What if this kit cannot come on and there are people queuing and you want them to vote? What if after it comes on, you find that at the end of the day, if there was actual voter turnout of 80%, it adds an extra 10 people. And says these extra 10 people also came in and these things are... What if all these things happen? The second respondent, that's the IBC, arrived at the aforestated administrative decision in clear violation of Section 44A of the Elections Act, which provides for provision of a complementary system of voter identification using the manual register. I think the law says use complementary, use electronic and complementary. Complementary cannot be another computer.
No.
How is that complementary of electronic? It was manual.
So asking for manual.
Yes.
And IBC says
no. Manual, we are moving digital. What's this thing with paper things?
Carrying paper everywhere.
Yeah.
And we can store it on the cloud.
Yeah.
No, please.
So they're also saying you also have not conducted sufficient stakeholder engagement on this. You cannot just arrive at that decision single-handedly. Consult others. So let's see how that case goes. Kenya's biggest conversation, it's coming up to 7 o'clock. Remember, in the next hour, we have a Justice Thursday's conversation talking about alternative dispute resolution, alternative justice system that's been rolled out by the judiciary across the country. And we'll be joined by the vice chairperson of the committee that is tasked with implementing AJS across the country. Also at 8 o'clock, we have the conversation about KRA. Remember, you have 7 days to file your tax returns. It's been made very easy by KRA, and we'll be telling you how. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Aseto. Over the next 3 weeks, the government is expected to continue the process of issuing title deeds to about 1 million Kenyans. The titles are being issued under the Jubilee government's national titling program, which has successfully issued approximately 1 million title deeds since 2013, when Jubilee took over the leadership of the country. Speaking at the KICC, where he presented the titles to about 250 people, President Kenyatta said the plan had been a great success in his administration and urged the people to elect leaders who will continue with the good job achieved thus far.
And in this context, given the importance of land resource in the overall national development agenda, I do urge nyinyi wale mtachagua, msichague watu ambao watatuweka gia ya reverse kuturudisha kule tumetoka. Tunataka wale ambao watasongesha hii agenda na kuhakikisha kwamba kila Mkenya ako na haki yake na mali yake, sio kuturudisha kwa enzi ya wizi na mambo mengine. Kuna wengine na hawakuwa na kazi nyingine, kazi yao ilikuwa kuzunguka, wanaamka asubuhi kuzunguka Nairobi, kuzunguka Mombasa, kuangalia pahali ambapo hakuna mtu, na hii ni ya nani? Na hii ni ya nani? Hiyo pia ni enzi zilizopita. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo inaweza kutendeka tena.
Various cabinet secretaries, in collaboration with the president, will be responsible for distributing the title deeds to beneficiaries in various parts of the country. Lanciers Farida Karani said that the use of a digital system to keep land records has been instrumental in ensuring that more people get the crucial document for their personal use.
Your Excellency, this is one of the 4 strategic programs you directed us in your second term to build on. And this is one of the programs, the National Titling Program, we are very proud of, Your Excellency, because it has made a lot of difference. In the last year, Your Excellency, you are here to give titles to Samburu women, people who've never seen a title document since they were born, I guess, as my peers would say. So, Your Excellency, this program is one program that we are very, very proud to be associated with.
The digital land reform program known as Ardhi was launched in 2016 to simplify and expedite the government's plan to ensure Kenyans own their land legally. And Azimio presidential hopeful Raila Odinga will today head to Moyale, Marsabit County, where he will be selling the Azimio ticket. This as Odinga continues to sell his agenda to the pastoral communities. Yesterday he was in Samburu County, where he assured the locals that should he get to power, he will construct a slaughterhouse and a leather factory that will benefit the locals.
Taleta ni mpango ya bima ya mifugo, livestock insurance, ili kama ng'ombe yako inakufa wewe unapata pesa kutoka kwa serikali, ili wafugaji wasiwe kila mara kwa mara kama kuna kiangazi wanapata hasara kubwa kubwa. Tutaleta kichinjio pale ambaye wale wanyama wanaweza kuchinjwa, alafu ile ngozi ambayo tunapata tunatengeneza naye leather ya kutengeneza naye viatu na kadhalika.
This as his running mate Martha Karua met with the Muslim community in Nairobi, where she urged them to turn out in large numbers and vote them in, further asking that just like other Kenyans, they play their role of putting the government in check.
I and my captain, we actually do recognize that we are imperfect human beings, but our commitment to you and to Kenyans is that we will try to do our best and we will bank on you to remind us when we veer off course.
And the Kenya Kwanza leaders continue to accuse President Uhuru Kenyatta of leaving the country in a bad state as he exits office due to the high cost of living that continues to affect Kenyans. Led by Deputy President William Ruto, the leaders blamed the handshake between the head of state and Raila Odinga, saying it interfered with the government's agenda of ensuring that Kenya has sufficient food reserves. They say has contributed greatly in high cost of living.
Ile mpango ya agricultural transformation ambayo ilikuwa part of the big 4 ambayo ilikosa kuendeshwa kwa sababu ya mambo ya handshake na BBI na rege. Leo tuko na shida kubwa ya njaa katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Ametuacha na shida ya jamii kulishwa kwa nyumba kwa sababu hawakusimamia uchumi.
Kiangazi Kajiado kaunti ni kubwa mno. Mpaka saa ingine tunastuka ifikapo mwezi wa 8 inaweza hata adhiri mambo ya kupiga kura.
Mimi nataka kuuliza watu, kwa sababu ni ukora, ni kwa nini ukule Uganda bei ya unga ni shilingi 100?
Nawaambia suluhu ya kuteremsha bei ya unga, bei ya mafuta ya taa ni plan ya uchumi ya bottom.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, we're looking at Mombasa Road this morning, getting into the city. That slows down quite some as we're looking at that Imara Daima outbound, very slow. Inbound as well, bumper to bumper in some parts. Then feeding off of North Airport Road, going out towards Outer Ring, that slows down some. Just past that Embakasi Junction and going towards the Eastern Bypass, that's already doing the slow motion thing. Looking at Jogo Road, in and outbound traffic, also bumper to bumper all the way from the Makadara train station out towards the City Stadium roundabouts. And we know all vehicles coming off Mombasa Road, for example, going to have to go that way and then getting onto Landys Road, going the roundabout way. So you cannot come down Haile Selassie anymore, and you cannot use that roundabout then going towards railways because, you know, there's nothing there. You're going towards Green Park to disembark and board as well. Remember, so we're going to see that traffic. It's already started to build up there. Langas Road towards the interchange, already doing that thing. And Uhuru Highway then going towards the Haile Selassie Junction, already building up. What's going on in Westlands? Let's take a look at that. Waiaki Way, not too bad, but we'll keep an eye on things. The Thika Superhighway, you thought it was sleeping. Well, now it's awake, and we're looking at bumper to bumper, all the way from Survey out past the Pangani underpass, and Kiambu Road is already piling up. Traffic hour starts in about half an hour still, but it looks like it's going to be a busy morning already. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It's 8 minutes after 8. Good morning and after 7. It's 8 minutes after 7. Welcome to Tuesday. If you're just joining us, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's The Situation Room. We are live on SpiceFM. We are also live online, YouTube and Facebook, and www.spicefm.co.ke. We have a guest in the studio. Before we introduce him to the show, let's hear the day's proverb. City.
This is the last proverb from Party Island. Choma kwa choma haichomani.
Choma kwa choma haichomani.
Yes.
Na si nyama choma.
Sio si nyama choma.
Ukiwekelea nyama choma juu ya nyama choma ingine,
itakuwa nyama choma
haitachomana.
Ama itakuwa nyama choma mingi. It's not that. 2 tips. 2 points. Do not stab each other. That was the gist of this particular proverb. Yes, kuchoma just doesn't mean to burn. It also means to stab. Yes.
And what does tudunga mean?
Now, tudunga, now that is specifically to inject. Yes. Mtu anadungwa shindano. Achomwe shindano. Yes.
So dunga goes deeper.
Dunga, my friend, gets in the system quickly.
Okay. Dr. Steve Okoh is the Vice Chair of the National Steering Committee on the Implementation of Alternative Justice Systems. We've been talking about AJS for a while now, an initiative of the Chief Justice in the judiciary. Today being Thursday, our conversations, #Justice Thursdays, go back to AJS. Dr. Okoh, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante sana.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Well, it doesn't look so hot, but it's
Abbas.
That's the whole point.
Yes.
To make you comfortable. Yeah? It's not hot at all. Dr. Okoh, we've been talking about AJS for a while. You are the Vice Chair of the Steering Committee on this. We have spoken to the Chair, the Honorable Justice Professor Joel Ngoge. You are the Vice Chair. Are you a judge, a magistrate, a registrar? How do you end up in this committee?
Thank you very much. In fact, that is the essence of AJS, that For a vice chair, you don't need a judge, you don't need a magistrate, you don't need a judicial officer. I am an anthropologist by training, and I end up in this committee by the very fact that the committee is a multi-stakeholder committee, and I represent a constituency of the civil society, and also have another leg in the academia. That's how I end up here. But most important, if you look at the way the Honorable Chief Justice has described this strategy, she's called it multiple door. So when you talk about multiple door, then it also requires multiple perspectives and it requires multiple actors. And that's how I come in.
You're the alternative door.
Yes, I'm the alternative door.
In the alternative justice system.
Yes. But again, when you talk about alternative door, alternative justice, it is not a hierarchy like Ngazi, or one is number one is number two. They all stand in parallel in terms of all of them are of equal importance and of equal utility, only that there's a menu of choice. You go to a restaurant and you have matumbo, you have maini, you have, githeri, and you can choose which one to take. It doesn't mean that any of them is of any hierarchy. In fact, in high-end hotels, the cost of githeri could be higher than the cost of fish. Thank you.
So you represent basically the user's voice in the pursuit of justice.
Yeah. Well,
because now the others are representing, the...
No, we nuance it a little bit because you see, when you talk about multiple door, it means that the providers of justice are not just the judiciary.
Yeah.
So civil society, for example, are also providers of justice. Yes, essentially we see them as users, but they are also providers because a group like an NGO like FIDA Kenya works with the Council of Elders in Nyakach to resolve a land issue. So they are providers of justice. So the multiple door helps us to rework these categories of user and seeker. So at one point, the seeker of justice becomes a producer, becomes a dispenser of justice. At another point, of course, he or she becomes a user. Equally, you have situations where the courts refer cases back to alternative justice system mechanisms. For example, land cases. So complex. What do you do? Tell us, sit, talk about this, bring it back. So the court then becomes a seeker, invites the Wazays to be interlocutors in working with it to attain justice.
So it's cyclical in nature.
Yes, exactly.
And is that what is being encouraged now? That it could be you then at some point who is seeking justice, and then at another point it is you then who is facilitating
Absolutely,
justice.
absolutely. And it reworks. If you look at Article 48 of the Constitution of Kenya, it says that the state has a duty to ensure that all of us get access to justice. Now, what is access? Now, access does not just now mean sit back, wait, be given justice. It now means be an actor in producing the environment and providing justice. But before, the essence was everything to kutane kotini. And, let's meet in court. And the court was a place where we will go and receive justice. But now the idea is, no, be an actor, produce the environment, facilitate relationships that can enhance production and then access to justice.
Yeah. Several AJS, shall I call them courts, have been established. We know there's Kajiado. The other day we were talking about a new one being launched in Nakuru and all. If you were to give us just like the success stories or the stories so far of AJS, what would you say? Give us, for example, what's happening in Kajiado since AJS was introduced.
Thank you. So the success in Kajiado, for instance, is at 3 levels. First of all, the Honorable Chief Justice has brought a very good idea that when she launches new courts, the old courts create physical space for the elders to have a meeting room. And we call them AJS suites, or in Kiswahili, ukumbi wa AJS. And that's a big shift in terms of how the physical space of the courts are used. So that is one big benefit. Secondly, in terms of the utility, the cases, we have had many land cases in Kajiado remaining unresolved for many years. And the impact of that? One is that land is seen to be scarce. But it is not scarce. It's there in abundance, but there's a lot of it which you can't access because it's entangled in cases. 2 is that the questions of those contestations are such that the court can't understand them For example, somebody says, it's my brother who sold it, and I'd not given him consent. Legally, this guy does not need to give him consent, but culturally, he ought to have got consent. So the court can't understand. You have no legal right. What consent were you supposed to give? So again, AJS has helped now to go into the contestations which cannot be expressed through legal language. And thirdly, is that in the last 6 months since the launch of Kajiado, about 38 cases have been resolved via the elders. And these are cases which have remained pending in the courts for quite some time. And one may say that 38 is a small number, but bearing in mind that in this country we have land cases, be it succession or just mere issues of boundary and so on, which take us close to 10 years. So 38 cases in 6 months is a good thing. But we aren't looking at the success just in terms of the number of cases. We are looking at success in terms of the character of AJS being performative. That is, you solve one case, you prevent two from emerging. Or you solve one case, and that case solves another three. So this performative function of AJS mechanisms is something that the courts are not quite able to do, and the AJS teams do it very well.
How receptive are these communities to the adjudication that is provided by the elders?
The communities, as you have always told us, are not homogeneous. So you have people who have some interest on the table, others are not on the table. So largely, there's been a receptiveness among the people who really want justice. But there are people also who see the situations of conflict and the dilemmas of what is just, what is unjust, as a space to get a few more coins, delay stuff. Like there are people who have a succession matter. Say, this one I'll delay it for 20 years. So you go to the High Court, create technicalities, it goes to Court of Appeal, you want it back to High Court and so on. So it's quite a mixed bag, but largely I think many people want justice, seem to find this a useful mechanism of engaging and advancing their interest.
Why I ask the question is because if I look at many land issues, essentially they're community issues.
Exactly.
And even when the matter goes to court, members of the community, whether it is opinion leaders, whether it is community leaders, whatever you want to call them, are often required to lend their voice to whatever is ongoing, because many of these things are also historical.
Absolutely.
Now, my question. I am aware that some training is given to members of these communities to understand certain details of how it is they can actually formalize these processes. But what do we have in place to expand these functions so that they take an even bigger role? Because it's not just land disputes. There will be disputes between clans. There will be dispute between married couples. There will be disputes between parents and their children. And many of them, once again, are within the community. So instead of escalating them to court, or rather the court system as we know it, this very group of elders, as we call them, given that they are right there in the community and they'll probably understand the details of these issues better than the court system.
Very true.
My question is, what are the plans to expand these functions and to expand the work of these people within the communities?
Thank you very much. First, indeed, land questions are the most engaged just because land is the most sort of explicit, contested matter in many of the cases that come to court. In fact, sometimes you see a matter is registered as murder, but the real issue was land. A matter is registered as assault and so on. Now, but in terms of expanding the functions, you are completely right. The way we see AJS, for example, now in the moment of elections, is to see it as a toolkit that is fit for purpose. So you can use it in resolving issues of identity. For example, you remember when we had COVID at its height and the Bukusu Council of Elders insisted we have to go on with the initiation. It's a justice question. The same elders who resolve land questions are the ones who, for example, do that. The Moran as well and so on. So what we've done is to ask people, what therefore is justice? And we've suggested that you see justice in two ways, as a process and as an outcome. as a process in terms of typical values that we have here, equity, equality, fairness, and so on. As an outcome, preserving and taking forward human dignity. So that way, therefore, the AJS mechanisms can be utilized and can be useful in not only matters that are utilitarian in terms of solving cases and so on, but it can also be useful in promoting peace, fostering cohesion, and so on.
Within the community, then, I know you talked about the identification of those who could stand in place to adjudicate over these matters. Are these then repeat officials, or then, depending on what the cases would be, then you have different people representative of the community? Or do people know, all right, since we're looking at an alternative, this gentleman or this lady is the one that we will go to on a regular basis? Or do you have a situation whereby several people around the community are selected?
Thank you. So it's quite organic. The AJS policy is not the one that established AJS. AJS existed long before.
Yes.
Always been there. So what we've done is to give them a criteria of identifying who is an elder. So, for example, an elder is not just,
an old person
like me, or a male. So you have a criteria. Are they people who have who are known to be honest? Are they people of integrity? Are they people who have acceptance and so on? And you see, in most communities, therefore, with that criteria, they have elders at various levels. Some are clan elders, some are radio elders, some are church elders. So therefore, once you have them in that sort of big supply, then the communities are able to organize the particular team of elders they want to refer to based on the issue.
So sorry, I know you're not done, but just fueling that. So the community is the one that identifies based on their experience who the individuals would be then that would represent them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And our work is to offer like this now rays of sun. To say, as we look at this individual, this is how to look at them. Remember our values in Article 10 of the Constitution. Remember the Bill of Rights. So like, for example, if you have a council of elders and it is full of, it's only for men, then there's a problem because our Constitution says that that's a problem. If it's a council of elders and it's only for old people, then that's a problem. If it's a council of elders and it says that if you are not of a language group that belongs here, you can't be attended to or you can't belong, there's a problem. So that is what we do. We give you the rays of sun, sort of to help you to socialize this council of elders with the requirement in the Constitution.
Take us through a practical case, all right? So, City and I are squabbling over a piece of land in Kisaju.
Which is likely, yes.
Yes. And then we want to resolve this issue through AJS. So, are we the ones to agree on how to empanel the AJS elders? Or who does that? How do we, just take us through how we shall find our justice?
Very good. Thank you. So, there are 3 ways in which the elders empanel themselves. One is the one that call themselves autonomous AJS mechanisms, where, in a typical village, in a typical marketplace, there are people who, either through practice or through selection, are known to be the leaders in dispute resolution. So you approach them. Once you approach them, they empanel themselves. They know how to organize themselves. So that is one. 2, you could go to a quasi-governmental institution. You could go to the chief, you could go to an NGO, and the NGO, therefore, would work with the elders to say, look, let's form a team to resolve this matter. That's what we call the third party. So the third party comes and works with the autonomous, and then panel. The third one is a court annexed, where you take a matter to court, and the court says, well, this one looks like the puzzle requires a little bit of engagement with the local situation that we aren't able to deploy, to then approach the existing council of elders. So essentially the power to empanel is not on the complainant, so that you go and fabricate your own mechanism. But the system has worked really is that people tend to know who to approach. I'm sure even me and you, in our local communities, we know who to approach, and then we leave them with the power to empanel and so on. But 2 key criteria we have suggested that you start by being outside. So you choose to go in. So you can't be told that if you're Turkana, then you must go to Turkana Council of Elders. No, you choose. That's very important. What you call the agency theory. You choose yourself. And two is that you also choose to exit. So it means that even if you go to a Council of Elders or an AGS mechanism, then you're not sort of chained there. You can always exit it.
Sure. Yeah. You talked about, I mean, and it is clear, just looking at, historical tradition in communities, is that there was always a way in which disputes were settled amongst communities.
Indeed.
Mirroring this exact same thing that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Now, with this title that we've given it as AGS, are we essentially saying that these processes continue within community? But what we're saying now is then, as far as the judicial system is concerned, that these decisions then that are taken at a community level then become binding in law, whatever the case may be.
Very good. Yeah, I think you've touched a very primary question there. So what we're saying is that if you look at Article 159 2C of the Constitution, the judiciary, we recognized that although we are giving judicial power to the judiciary because it's delegated power from the people, but we realize that there are many cases, most cases are not resolved by the judiciary. So we ask ourselves, so what do you do? So in then exercising its power, judiciary is asked to promote these mechanisms. So it means that if a matter is determined by those mechanisms in a way that meets the test of fair process and adherence to the dictates of the Constitution, then the judiciary will not say, that's kangaroo court, we don't recognize it.
Right.
Yeah, it is duty bound
to recognize this.
To recognize it.
So I'm sorry. So is there any time or any possibility where then there would be a circumvention of the process by the judiciary to then later come in and say that this case at the community level via the AGS mechanism has been determined? However, because of 1, 2, 3 factors, we feel as judiciary, again, as the court, that we must then step in and either, number one, overturn the decision made by the AGS mechanism, or be involved in the process because of 1, 2, 3, then would there ever be an instance where that could happen?
The answer is
that
yes.
Could be seen to then maybe undermine the AGS process?
So the answer is yes, the judiciary is required now. Because, initially you could ignore and say, we don't recognize it. But now they have to take notice of that process. And indeed, what you said is true. Remember, the judicial authority, although is derived from the people have delegated it to the judiciary. So the judiciary has the ultimate responsibility of making sure that justice is done.
Right.
So yes, they can call a matter, they can review it. What they can't do is to say, bure kabisa can't exist. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have to take notice that this is a legitimate process. But yes, in terms of corrective measures, in terms of making sure that justice is done, that still remains the purpose.
Even overturning a dissemination?
Well, they can, yes. If it's so clear that the matter, the way it has been processed and the outcome that has been delivered is basically inconsistent with either the law or inconsistent with the with the other policies or inconsistent with the just outcome, they can. And Article 159 3 ABC talks just about that of the Constitution. That yes, there are bases upon which it is possible to overturn and in fact put aside those processes by AGS mechanisms.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Dr. Steve Okoh is the Vice Chairperson of the National Steering Committee on Implementation of Alternative Justice Systems in the country. This is an initiative of the Chief Justice, part of her strategy for enhanced access to justice across the country for everybody. And that's what we'll be talking about, alternative justice systems, how it's working, the model, and how we can also take advantage of this in this particular case. Daktari, I sold CT a piece of land in Kisaju, honestly, and he paid me. The only problem is I'd forgotten that I'd also sold the same land to 2 years
You forgot
earlier,
it?
I forgot that this is the same land. Niko na shamba mingi.
Yes.
So this one I forgot I had sold the same one.
Actually, Dr. this man forgets very often because he forgot that he had even sold it to other people before that. Yes.
Now City wants his money back. Na sina pesa.
And
I'm
those are
telling
quite-
him to wait.
And that's quite common.
To wait. I
Wait
give
for
him
him to
another
sell the
land
land
in
again.
Lamu.
Again,
To
and
somebody
then pay you
else.
back.
I give you money. Keep it here for more. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Here's to the roarers, the ones who cut through the noise in a cloud of dust. Those who casually say, my time is now. You who sets a best time no one can beat, because when you roar, the world listens. It's time for Kenya to feel the roar with KCB, the official financial sponsor of WRC Safari Rally Kenya 2022. Be part of the action from 23rd to 26th June in Naivasha, regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Africa is rapidly growing, and Merck Foundation is raising awareness about different social and health issues through fashion and art with purpose. Our Africa TV show on KTN Home will talk about issues that matter to you, such as diabetes awareness, ending child marriage, supporting girl education, and breaking infertility stigma, among other topics affecting the continent. Join Merck Foundation CEO Senator Dr. Rasha Kelej every Saturday at 5:30
Cloudy
p.m.
conditions in
as she
Nairobi at
talks
15. We'll see
fashion
highs of
design.
21 and lows of 14. At 15, it's cloudy. In Nakuru, highs of 24 and lows of 13. 19 with high in a cloudy Nyeri at 14. Coming down to lows of 13 and it's cloudy at 13. In Eldoret, highs of 22 and lows of 12. It's raining in Mombasa. That started early morning, still continuing at 25. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 23. And the rain also coming down in Malindi at 26. It'll go to highs of 29. 18 degrees and partly sunny conditions in Kisumu, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega, where the sun is also up. 19 degrees and sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 18, and we're looking at 21 and sunny in Dar es Salaam, highs of 29 and lows of 20. 8 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 12 and lows of 9, while at 24, Lagos is clear for a change, highs of 30 and lows of 24, and it's cloudy at 20 in Kinshasa, highs of 30 today.
Classic soul, R&B,
Highway
smooth
taking a large hit
jazz.
this morning, and we're looking at traffic all the way from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, heading out towards the city and then through into Westlands, Langata Road. We know what's going on there. Jogo Road, really heavy traffic. So all public service vehicles coming off Mombasa Road using Jogo Road today, getting then towards the Landis stretch and then out towards Kamkunji. Landis not looking too bad right now, but we're guaranteed that that is going to build up as we're going through the morning. All right, so what are we seeing? Everybody touching on outer ring today? Yes, indeed. We're looking at traffic coming off of Kangunda Road, coming off Manyanja Road, and then indeed further north coming off Juja Road. Then everybody leading into the city, the Thika Superhighway, all the way from Survey through to the Pangani Underpass, and then out from Kiambu Road, Limuru Road, right into the belly of Muthaiga. A lot of traffic started off this morning, and we're likely to see that pick up. Visibility is poorer and poorer as you go out west, so leaving Nairobi, going through Limuru, out into Naivasha, and then into Nakuru. Fog lights up, folks. You're going to need them. Let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life.
25 minutes to 8. The conversation continues. This is the Situation Room on Spice FM, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on www.spicefm.co.ke. It's Thursday. It's therefore hashtag Justice Thursday. And the conversation we're having this morning is on alternative justice solutions. And we have the Vice Chair of the National Steering Committee on Implementation of Alternative Justice Systems in the country, Dr. Steve Okoh. City.
The discussion of authenticity, when someone goes to court simply because of where the actual building where justice is dispensed is in a supposedly neutral place, there's a certain authority that is lent to that institution. Now, when we talk about Council of Elders in this country, unfortunately, in many instances, they are seen as instruments that politicians use to serve their interest. Where would they function from? We've had this discussion before, and we're told that there have been attempts by different institutions to try and see if they can have a centralized place from which they can actually handle their matters. So I'm asking the question, so that the thought of neutrality is enhanced, is it a good idea might it be a good thought to have a premise from which these Council of Elders or the elders, however you want to refer to them, to have a place where they can dispense their functions, either at a chief's camp or a place where there is a court of law or some place which has a government stamp on?
Okay, thank you. So now, that's a fairly difficult question, but it has two sides. So the question of legitimacy must start with the spirit of the Constitution, which is a very important thing. What is the Constitution guiding us in terms of what should be the source of this authenticity or this stamp of approval? And the Constitution is deliberately very emphatic. If you look at Article 1, if you look at Article 159 itself, this notion of the people. So before, we had the logic of the state, the Baba and Mama state. But the Constitution is trying to move us away from that and say, look, Article 159 starts by saying judicial authority is derived from the people. So it's telling the people, yes, you have proclaimed to yourself to have a constitution and you have installed a judiciary, but the power, the authenticity, the stamp of approval comes from you. So while ordinarily there has been the feeling that the official state approval is the most important, the Constitution is telling people, no, go back to yourself. And that's very important. Now, but more practically, I really agree with you that there has been challenges of bias, challenges of equity, challenges of equality, and some of these are perception issues. Where are you holding your meetings? If you're holding your meetings in the house of the person who is known as the major violator, then the perception is already out there. So the judiciary has done a good thing. That's why it has created what I'm calling the ukumbis. So the ukumbis are sort of, so to say, neutral places. And the courts have given this free of charge. In Nakuru, there's an ukumbi now, and Kajiado, there's an ukumbi. And the vision of the Chief Justice that wherever she launches new courts, there will be an ukumbi. But practically also in everyday life, we are encouraging actors to make sure that their engagement with justice must also deal with perception question. Because as the matter goes, justice is not just done, but must be seen to be done. Where are you holding your meetings? Who is convening the meetings? Who is communicating that the sessions are going to be convened? Where are the sessions convened? At what time? You know, the problem we're having in justice system, for example, in certain sectors is where meetings of the elders are held late in the evening. That means that women will definitely have problems. Or they're held in houses where the youth are uncomfortable and so on. So that perception question is a question we put forward. And finally, there's a movement that has also worked very well towards solving that. And that's a youth movement with the social justice centers. The social justice centers are like neutral spaces where communities can convene, have conversations, and they become very good spaces also for convening AJES sessions in many communities. Dandora, for example, has a vibrant justice center. Madare, vibrant justice center. Kajiado also, vibrant justice center, and many places in Western Kenya as well.
You know, the perception, I'm glad you've touched on perception, because the optics in some of these cases are perhaps of paramount importance. Why? Because historically, people have associated justice with a certain perception that they have of the locale where this process takes place, the people who are actually in charge of dispensing it, and so forth. Now, once a system is entrenched, then it doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
Where it is that the elders meet to dispense. It could be in the school backyard, it could be in a church compound, mosque. It doesn't really matter. But until that is reached, because it's like we're clawing back time. There was a time when, yes, meetings and dispensing of justice were community affairs, but we moved away from that, and now we want to go back to it. Now, let me ask the question. What are the timelines for trying to ensure that we have a semblance of what we are talking about in literally every county in the country?
Thank you very much. Yeah. So, one of the strategies that we've deployed as a committee is to devolve. So we have a policy which outlines how AJS ought to be unfolded. So we have developed a strategy of devolving that. So we are working with the AJS mechanisms and the court users committees at the county level to develop action plans at the county levels, which will then help to domesticate and create a localized framework for operationalizing this. And the timeline is quite short. Our committee has 5 years sunset time. We have already
beginning when
we are banning our second year now.
Okay.
So we have 3 more years to go, and we are hoping that, God willing, in 3 years, every county in this country will have an action plan which mobilizes all justice stakeholders around this court users committee to have AJS mechanisms operationalized in every county of this country.
So with that sunset clause and with the plan to have AJS established in all the counties, there'll come a time when people will be like, okay, so many of these cases are actually now being offloaded from the main judiciary route. So AJS becomes busy.
Yes.
Then people will start saying, now, surely, it's occupying too much of our time, because as it gains popularity, it becomes sort of like the main part, the first port of call for very many people who have disputes. Will you be able to pay the people who are sitting?
Very true. That's a difficult and real question. But look at also this in other sectors. This is exactly what happened with the midwifery in this country, where the traditional birth attendants have over time now become major actors in ensuring self-delivery and ensuring good care for our mothers and managing maternal system. Initially, the public health system basically had pushed them aside and they were condemned. But now, almost every county in this country, because remember health is a devolved function, almost every county has developed a policy or a law to promote traditional birth attendants. And the county government are putting money into it. So we want to take this to the county, and we're hoping county government will put money into it. Look, for example, the question of culture. Culture is basically within the mandate of the county government. And we've seen a county like Makueni, which has put significant amount of money in the culture question. Counties like Isiolo have put a lot of money on the culture function. So we hope that with the county action plan, the county government will be able to allocate money in this function, and that will enable the elders, because the elders do not just perform, justice question, and that's why we are not calling it dispute resolution. Justice question, as you said initially, is a broader function. You'll get that this same group of people working to resolve matters are the ones who Kenya Highways Authority will work with when they're building a road, and they want people to move. They're the same ones where, during emergency, they will be deployed by the Red Cross to be part of that movement for humanitarian intervention. They're the same ones whom tomorrow a mosque, a church is doing a function, and they want some opinion leaders will deploy them. So the county government, therefore, we hope, will find this category of actors as very useful interlocutors, and will put money into it. We also hope that the judiciary gets funded better, and if it gets funded better, the support that is giving the Court Users Committee will percolate into supporting these systems.
And even creating more court, what are we calling them?
Absolutely.
Not the rooms, what are they calling?
Ukumbis.
Yes.
Creating more ukumbis.
Exactly.
So, can I get specific into cases now? I mean, of course, not the merits of a case, but things that could happen around a case. That if then you go into one of these, AGSs, right, and something happens, as would happen normally. Maybe the individual now who has been put or as the determiner of the case, or the one who will hear, something happens to them mid-process. How does this carry out in the same way that a court would, that somebody else is appointed, or then do you go through the process again from the beginning?
Take an example, and that's a very practical question. Here in Nairobi, at the toy market, one of the cases that many of the AGS mechanisms engage is the question of the loan. People get loans, and the loans are sometimes at rates that are fairly high. And so, you are lent money, and if you can't pay, you know what happens. You go for exile in a rural home and hope that
that they won't find you there.
They can't find you.
And they forget.
But what we have seen is that the AGS mechanisms have a very good case management system where they manage it both to resolve it, but also to support the person who is involved in the matter. And if one party who is part of the process falls off, either unwell or because of other engagement, there are always other parties who can take it along. And I've seen that work very well in trade market. So on one side, there are those who would help track the person and get, why aren't you paying? So they don't start by condemning, why aren't you paying? And interestingly, there are many cases in trade market where the people resolving the conflict between the lender and one of their own would say, okay, now we've seen that you really have a problem, you can't pay. We will now deploy the market, other traders, to raise money to help you pay. So it's a very collectivized approach, and that means that if one person falls off, then he doesn't need to start afresh. It will always continue. But besides that, it's not just about finding you guilty. It's about resolving the source of the problem. You can't pay. Why? Is it because you have no money, or is it because you're becoming difficult? If you have no money, the guys always come off around to help you to make the payments.
So what happens if something happens to the determiner of the case and there is a process that's ongoing? Falling sick. Mid-hearing. Falling sick. We know what happens in court. There's an adjournment or such until then this happens. But here we are dealing with a less formal process. So what happens? Then who then steps in and says, all right, let's hold on to this until we can get somebody else who comes and steps in. Remembering that the process of this, initiating this individual, was a communal process.
Exactly.
So what happens mid-case when something like that occurs?
Very good. First, you must remember that even the courts themselves are being told to be careful not to take too much consideration of the technical approaches. For example, I've seen in our courts recently, there's a prescribed way of writing an affidavit. And then you have an affidavit, and they know it before a judge, and the judge can see that this was not done in the procedural way. Many judges today would say, okay, let's continue. We didn't follow the procedure, but that does not undermine the substantive questions. So what has happened is that the many AGS mechanisms, also in tandem, also, and courts also, are very relaxed on these technicalities. So in many cases, and this is a very important question, and allow me to divert a bit and take you to what I saw in South Africa, when the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission was convening and taking statements. Almost everybody who came to the commission would say, before they attacked me, I had just visited so-and-so. I had just said bye-bye to so-and-so, and then. I was coming from seeing so-and-so, and then. So there's this social connectivity. And many cases that are dealt with by AGS mechanisms have this connectivity. My father was part of it, or my mother was part of it, or my brother was part of it. So it becomes very easy in many occasions for somebody to stand in as a proxy.
Mhm.
Because your matter is not solely your matter. There's a connectivity with other people
Yeah.
who feel it or who are also interested in it being resolved. And that would help me also bring another matter which has been raised often, the role of lawyers in AJS. You know, when people talk about representation, they think representation is just an advocate appearing and so on. But it's not just that. We
With
know
language.
African societies.
Kizungu mingi.
Hey, African societies, your uncle, your auntie would come and speak for you, isn't
Yep,
it?
yep.
Even me at my age, in many cases in my rural home, my father goes in to sit in for me, including on significant issues like even purchase of land. So representation is acceptable. It's done a lot in AJS mechanisms, and that then also deals with that question of what happens if the interlocutor himself or herself is absent. But this social connectivity is an integral thing which is very important, and the courts are also trying to pick up from it.
I may stick on this, Dr. Okoh, and if we can just take a few steps back, that this individual or this, this group of determinants in the community, must there be communal acceptance of this individual, or must there at least be a similar thread that has run through that we say, okay, fine, this is the person who is going to adjudicate over this matter? It doesn't have to be that. At least the two parties must agree that, fine, this is the person that we're going to bring this case to, and they will hear and then determine thereafter. Must there be that, communal acquiescence of that individual?
No. And let me give an example, what I'm seeing in Garissa, in the Maslaha system. In many Islamic societies, it is clear that many of the structures are fairly male-dominated.
Yes.
But women still take their matters there. But how do they do it? What I've seen they do, they start by mobilizing support. So I want to take the matter to Maslaha, but I'll make sure the chief is aware of this matter. I'll report the matter to the police. I'll report the matter to the sheikh. I'll report the matter to the women group. So what this person has done is ring-fencing a system of accountability. So the people watching are so many that then the chances that injustice will be tolerated becomes low. Yeah. So they don't start by saying, no, before I sit in the panel or before I go to the panel, I need women to be members. Before I go to the panel, I need so and so. No, they mobilize other resources to ring-fence. So the eyes that are put on the system is so intense that the system really has to act a just way. So that's how it works in many situations. I think people are not going out to say the panel must be constituted in X, Y, Z. But people mobilize other accountability resources to make sure that whichever panel is there, then the level of accountability is so high. And if it's bogus, then it just falls on its own. But that's not to say that these panels are perfect.
Sure.
In fact, there are a lot of problems, I must say, that, for example, there are those who are basically entrepreneurs, especially in this year of elections. So tomorrow, you see, if you go and you have a better jacket than myself, you are made an elder, a Luo elder. Tomorrow, Latiff comes, she comes. So the other one is, of course, we have this masculinity is still a big problem in many councils of elders. Not just elders which are cultural elders, like language-based, even in markets. If you go to markets where you have elders, it's still very masculine. And lastly is a question of whose culture. Culture is a source of power.
Sure.
And people tend to interpret culture very positionally. If it favors me, it's interpreted this way. Favors this one. So those contradictions exist. And that is part of why we as a committee are so invested in awareness and training. And this awareness and training is not about training people what is culture, but how to see culture in the optics of justice.
So then is AJS also then a vanguard of culture to say that even as these cases are being, determined, that there is the protection of culture that must be played out here? Because here we are talking about, societies male-dominated still. Women don't necessarily have an issue with it, but at the same time, there's the preserve of culture that then must be recognized by the AJS.
Exactly. Article 11 of our Constitution talks about culture in two ways. There's a culture of what we produce, what we have every day, our identities and so on. but also talks about the future culture, the culture with a small c and capital C.
Right.
So the part of culture that AJS and the task force is interested in doing is help us. What is a culture of Kenyanness? And that's what the constitution envisages. So we don't start by confronting culture as a bad thing. We say it's okay, it's important, but there is the tangents that should help us in living our culture. You know, the way you live, because again, culture is dynamic, it's always unfolding, and so on.
Daktari.
Yes.
So AJS does not handle criminal cases, right?
Who said that?
I'm thinking criminal cases, for example. If there is issues of murder, there are cases that will not go through AJS. True.
There are cases that will not go through it, but the criteria is not civil and criminal. Because these categories of civil and criminal, they're important, but they are not natural categories. They are categories that have been defined out of certain mode of legal and just reasoning. But in our everyday life, the AJS mechanisms have a role in almost all kinds of cases, including criminal cases. But remember what I say, the test, urgency
of the matter.
No. By agency, I don't mean agency UG, I mean agency AG.
Okay. All right.
The person themselves.
The agent.
The agent, yeah. The voluntariness of being able to engage and ability to do so. So, for example, on issues of, if a child, for example, is violated sexually or through other forms of physical abuse, it's very difficult for a child to choose whether to go to elders or not. So you say this matters when it comes to defilement, when it comes to matters of children, keep off. Issues of state, issues of elections, keep off. But issues of
domestic disputes.
Sorry?
Domestic disputes.
Those ones, yes. Even issues of what you're calling criminal offenses. Remember, what you're calling a criminal matter has various shades of it. And you'll get that AJS has a role to play in resolving some shades of it. So I wouldn't say explicitly that criminal matters are outside the purview of AJS, outside the shades of it, where AJS plays an important role, and indeed a useful role.
Theft of livestock is criminal.
Yes, exactly.
And the likelihood is that community will know who their thieves are.
And there are sanctions, for example, I saw now in many pastoralist communities, if you go to sell livestock in the market, you must show proof of where it was bred before it reached the age of sellability.
How did the cow come here? Where did you get it from? Do we know? Does your neighbor know this cow?
Exactly.
Does your wife know you're selling the cow?
Exactly.
Have you agreed that
this
is happening? Dr. we thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to shed light. Every time we have this conversation, we all get to understand better what AJS is, what it's meant to be, how it's meant to work. From the beginning, it was not really clear. So, is this a kangaroo court? Was there sitting?
A giraffe court.
Giraffe court. But it gets clearer and clearer. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I would just finish by saying, you see, look at it also vis-a-vis other sectors. Look at education, we've said, as we know, is not only found in schools. Healthcare, not only found in hospitals. Also, prayer, we don't only pray in mosque or synagogue or church.
Sure.
Equally, justice is not only found in the courts.
Absolutely. That's very good one. That's a very good way of putting it. Thank you very much. Dr. Steve Okoh is the Vice Chairperson of the National Steering Committee on Implementation of Alternative Justice Systems. He's been here with us. We've been talking about what AJS is doing, how it's helping to steer and shape conversations and implementation of AJS. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We talk about KRA and how you can then take advantage of this remaining 7 days to file and pay your tax returns. A very good morning to you. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
The Human Rights Commission is suing the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission over its decision not to use a manual register of voters as a complementary system during the August 9th general election. KHRC claims the decision would lead to voters being locked out of the exercise should the Kenya Integrated Election Management System fail. In a petition filed in court, the Rights Commission further argues that IEBC has a duty to facilitate and not deny any eligible citizen the right to vote, terming the decision as unlawful. This as Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga, through his lawyer Paul Mwangi, wrote to the IEBC demanding an explanation on what other safeguards are there in the event the KIMS kits fail.
I am wondering, do you have any other redundancy that you have designed in case of failure of technology of that day? I ask this knowing very well that this has happened before.
In case a kit fails, then we can now just be able to replace it with a working kit, and all we need to do is basically just to remove the SD card from the KIMS kit and insert it in the new KIMS kit.
Now, as debate continues to be had over degrees, certificates and their authenticity, especially for politicians whose academic credentials have been put under sharp focus by the electoral body IEBC, Education CS George Magoa now says that the Commission of University Education should be allowed to do its job. He says the authenticating a degree is an exercise that happens every day and that it's not new, adding that politicians should stop politicizing the exercise.
Every day, every week, every month, as a leader of a university, we keep checking the authenticity of degrees of our employees and our graduates who are working elsewhere. So this noise you are hearing is political. It's not professional, and I really don't have time to waste there. It's political. It is not professional at all. And by the way, it is important to allow Q to do its work. There is nothing important. If you want to check whether I graduated with a degree in medicine, you pick a phone and call the University of Lagos and see whether I have transcripts there. Most of the times we do this in the back room. Even here in Kenya, it should be done in the back room. But unfortunately, when it is now public thing like IEBC and they say you can't go, then it becomes an issue. So remove politics from it. That is one of the things that should not bother any Kenyan.
He says that going to court is not the solution to authenticating degrees, as there are bodies mandated to do their job.
Because if you claim to have a degree, you can't walk into a room and get a degree. No judge can give you a degree. IEBC cannot give you a degree. A degree must come from a university. What is the problem? In fact, if I was to, I don't have powers, but if I had, I would say that because of all this noise, everybody's degree should now be checked. Everyone. So that we find out if this is actually a problem, because it's becoming a big issue.
Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chief Executive Officer Twalib Mbaraka has called for the establishment of a central repository to verify academic certificates to curb widespread cases of fake degrees. In an interview, Mbarak stated that the country should swiftly provide permanent solutions to the upsurge in cases of academic fraud. He proposed that universities and other higher learning institutions should consider the use of innovative technology that will enable them secure integrity of academic certificates through security, quick response codes, among others. Now, former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo is now accusing UDA flag bearer William Ruto of being behind the divisions within the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Speaking in an interview on KTN News, Kabogo said all parties that had signed a partnership agreement with UDA to join Kenya Kwanza had been discriminated against, with Ruto leading his party in campaigning for UDA candidates only.
You will not tell me that the Honorable William Ruto will be asking for, through his deputy designate, for people to vote UDA, and he knows I'm a candidate. Before he would say, will you give me a UDA MCA? Will you give me an MP for UDA? And would you give us a governor for Kenya Kwanza? Okay. But now that has changed. MPs come and say, mutatupatia governor wa UDA, mutatupatia MP wa UDA, vile vile mtatupa MCA wa UDA. While the deputy designate is on the same vehicle, and he does not say anything about Kenya Kwanza. So it's like a marriage that is one-sided.
Kabogo, who wrote a letter to Ruto requesting a meeting to discuss his grievances, said he has resigned from Kenya Kwanza and will now focus on his campaigns with the aim of winning Kiambu's seat.
The joint SGs of our party, that is Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, and then Chama Chakazi, wrote to the principals seeking to have dialogue and deliberate on the issues that were of concern to both Chama cha Kazi and Jibebe Party.
This is Newsweb Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The news on SpiceFM is brought to you by the Communications Authority of Kenya. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
102.5
A little bit of
Spice
traffic on the
FM.
Southern Bypass today. We're looking at that Likoni interchange doing something. Not quite sure what's going on there. But coming off Enterprise, really sticky. Lunga. The folks who are trying to avoid Jogo Road because every single public service vehicle that would previously have disembarked at railways, bus station, has to then move towards Green Park. So Lunga is taking a hit from that. And then we're seeing the spillover onto Likoni. And then folks are using Mombasa Road out to the bypass to move. That's what's going on there, just in case you're wondering. Landis Road is still not much of a problem today. This is very interesting. So folks have left Landis, gone the other direction, and Landis Road has been left wide open. You might want to think about that. Into the CBD from the Thika Superhighway, traffic is still really heavy. We're looking at in- and outbound traffic on Kiambu Road. And that outbound traffic actually might be another lane or so that has been created trying to get towards Muthaiga Square. Looking a little bit better on the Thika Superhighway. We're just looking at past the Utali Drift out then towards the Pangani Underpass. That continues for now. Uhuru Highway pretty busy as you get towards Haile Selassie at the junction and then out into the city and through to Westlands. Westlands not behaving too poorly today. Some traffic on Waiyaki Way out through James Gishuru, but it's manageable. Things are a dull roll. Let's keep it just so and talk on SpiceFM. KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
8 minutes after
Situation
8.
Room.
Good morning.
The
and how
only
are you?
way to
Welcome
start
to
your
the
day.
third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room, broadcasting from Nairobi to the world on Spice FM, around the country. Spice FM KE on Facebook, Spice FM KE on YouTube, www.spicefm.co.ke, and for the next 1 hour, we're also live on KTN Home. We're here every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. where we have all these interesting conversations. And we have a guest in the studio. Before we welcome the guest and introduce him to the show, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
This is our final proverb from the island of Pate. Choma kwa choma, haichomani.
Choma kwa choma, haichomani.
And the choma we're referring to here is not the burning variety of choma.
Sio nyama?
Pana. Nope, it isn't.
I thought one would say, it's like you can't eat choma with choma. Lazima ikuwe na ugali.
Ama mukimo.
Wengine wanapenda na chips.
Wengine na chapati. Yes.
Choma kwa choma, haichomani. Choma kwa ugali, iko sawa.
But this isn't that type of
This
choma.
is not it.
No.
Okay.
Choma here has to do with stabbing. Right. And a tip. So tips don't stab each other. The best they can do is collide. Yes. But they cannot stab each other.
Can't stab each other.
No, they cannot.
Okay.
Yes.
This one's from the island of Pate.
Yes, and this is our final proverb from Pate.
Sawa basi. We have a guest in the studio. Remember, we have until the end of this month, that is the 30th of June, to do the tax returns, filing of tax returns. And when you file and you realize you owe the taxman a couple of shillings from your income, please remit the same in due time, right? So that we can all develop the country. Let's not argue about these issues, by the way.
Eric, why are you looking at me?
I'm not. I'm basically
What?
looking at you so that you can also say the same thing, reinforce my message.
No, you looked at me with this look of, I know you're going to differ with me. And how right you are.
We have a guest in the studio from the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, and he is Walter Omata. Walter is the manager in charge of the agriculture and real estate sector for the East and South Nairobi Tax Office. Walter, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
So when we talk about, these tax offices, East and South of Nairobi, where is that?
East and south of Nairobi is actually, we are located at Samia Park, Samia Business Park. Actually, KRA has divided Nairobi into sections. So we have the east, west, north, and of course south of Nairobi.
Okay.
So east and south of Nairobi, we are located at the Samia Park, the Samia Business Park.
So is Samia in east or south?
Yeah, Samia is in east. We combine both east and south.
All right, just so that we have an understanding.
Yeah.
So east begins where and where does it end? And then the other... West, where does it begin and where does it end?
And the north.
Yes, I just want to get it in my head so that I know.
Okay, east is part of Industrialia up to Eastlands.
Okay, that's east. Okay.
Yeah, then south we have area like Otiende, Langata,
South Sea.
Yeah, South Sea. Then of course west we have areas in Westlands, those other parts. Yeah. So I cannot be very much in knowing the
so there's an office
cutting point
in Westlands.
Yeah, we do have the west of Nairobi. We have that office located in the Corporate Business Center, Upper Hill. Then north of Nairobi, we have the office located on 14th floor of Times Tower. Because we also have other offices like the large taxpayers office, which is in Westlands. And then the medium taxpayers office, which is also in Corporate Business Center, Upper Hill.
Oh, so
there's a large taxpayer.
Yes.
Yo, Ujui.
No.
Medium.
No, Eric, wait a moment. We may be large taxpayers. Our brother has to define for us. Here we are thinking.
I'm waiting for the non-taxpayers
large
office.
is big amount per individual. Maybe he's saying large in terms of
large
numbers of people who come.
No, we define them on terms of turnover. What's your turnover?
Okay, and to be large, it's how many Kenyan shillings?
Over 2 billion.
As we are small.
Medium taxpayer is from what range? Up to 2 billion?
750 million to 2 billion.
Told you we are small, Chief.
And then 750 below?
Those are now small and medium.
Baba, we are small.
Small and medium.
No. Somebody with a turnover of 700 million shillings.
Eric.
Mostly it's
Don't
actually
be small.
Eric,
What do you mean?
There
Eric,
are companies.
The struggle we have had to even turn over 100,000, my friend.
And I'm classified in the same category as somebody is turning over 700 million.
It looks like we're all small.
Yes. Small and medium.
Oh, okay. So
the day we do a turnover of 100 million shillings, we want to move to the next category. We can't operate in the same category.
Actually,
as
we'll go to KRA and tell them to put us in that category of large.
Yes.
I wish you the best.
So you're manager in charge of agriculture and real estate sector.
Yes.
That means that also KRA has then also categorized sectors.
Yeah, we have various sectors. Yes.
So this one of yours.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
It's agriculture and real estate.
What's that?
Yeah, that's agriculture. Is simply agriculture. I don't know how I can define it, but real estate also. These are developers, people putting out houses, and also people earning rental income. So that's where I put it on that real estate part of it.
Okay.
Then agriculture are people involved in farming and also export.
So is that
sale
value
of
chain?
agricultural products?
Is that value chain in agriculture? From production to
export. Yes.
People in Marikiti are not under you?
No.
Those are traders?
Yeah, those are traders.
The people who transport are not under you?
No.
Okay.
So are you saying that this same department that you had is mirrored in the other sections within Nairobi as well?
All over those stations that I've just mentioned.
There are people doing agriculture in this area.
I get it completely. That one I've gotten. I wasn't thinking of light tracts of land with wheat. No, that's not what was on my mind. I was looking at, as you correctly put it, value chain. You know, I understand the term, by the way. Yes. This is very good.
Okay, so then exactly who and what is the expectation of these individuals or groups? And what is the expectation in terms of what they're supposed to do in terms of taxes, and how well are they covered in terms of information about how they're supposed to go about this?
I think one of the responsibility of a Kenyan citizen, whether you're an individual or it's a company, one of your obligations is to file tax returns and pay the tax returns and pay the taxes that are due. That is an obligation that is actually covered in the law. It's actually in section 52B of the Income Tax Act. You are required as an individual to file a return and account for the taxes. And of course, we know how taxes come about. One, I can say it's as a result of the incomes that you are having. It's actually the income that you earn that triggers the payment of taxes. Of course, also the law requires you that once you have the PIN, if you own a PIN, then you must file the returns, whether you have an income
or not.
Yeah.
So you're saying that all these people who don't have PINs are exempt?
Now, I was going to that because I knew someone was going to ask me that. No, they are not exempt from paying tax. It's only that the law requires that you can obtain a PIN after you've reached the age of 18. Yes.
Law requires.
Yes.
So you get to 18, you are expected by law to get a PIN.
To get a PIN number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no adult in Kenya should say, I haven't filed this year, I don't have a PIN.
Yes. And everybody who has got a PIN number, if you have that PIN, you are required by the law to file a return. And return is not a payment return. A return can be a nil return or a credit return. So it shouldn't be like I have to pay taxes. No, there are times when you cannot. If you don't have any income, then you don't pay in taxes because you didn't have any income. So you just do file a nil return.
Okay.
Yeah.
What exactly is this nil return? I think let's get into the proper understanding of it. Is it nil payment or nil income or nil both?
Or nil profit?
Yes, nil means that there's no tax payable and there's no credit carried forward.
Okay.
So it's just nothing. You're paying nothing. That's nil return. This let me take an example of university students, for example. They are required to have that PIN by the universities. They require them to have those PINs. So they come and they get the PIN certificates, but they are not engaged in any form of employment. They're actually students. So such a person, what you do at the end on 30th, by 30th of June. So you just go and do a nil return. Just fill the return, put all the information that's required, then at the part of income and just demonstrate as zero, nothing. You didn't get anything out of that.
Okay.
So it becomes a nil return.
Still on the issue of realizing or acknowledging that it is important to do that, then how much easier has it been made then for the passing on of this information? Because there's still a lot of folks then who understand this differently from the way you've explained it. That it should be obvious that, look, I'm not working, I don't make any money, so I don't owe KRA anything. But here we are saying that you must file just that you are not earning anything and let us know. So in terms of that communication, how much easier has it been over the years? Or even till to date?
I think over the years, KRA has been changing, trying to make it easier for people to file their returns. We have to agree that one of the things that makes it easier for you, not only that KRA has brought it online, but it's simply the time that you are given. Remember, right now we are filing the return for 2021 For 2021, that's what we're filing.
Yes.
From January to December.
So this is the calendar year 2021.
Yes. So whatever you earned in 2021, you are given 6 months to file it. That's why we are asking you, okay, by 30th of June, make sure you have done that, you have filed your return. I mean, that is simple enough. It gives you all the time, 6 months within which to file the return.
Where the problem, I think, has arisen, even in my own mind, when one talks about filing a return, the income bit, I understand.
Yeah.
Declaring it, I understand.
Yeah.
But at what point do people have to get to that realization that a tax return is not, it doesn't necessarily relate to money you have earned. It just relates to you stating, in my mind as a layman, the state of your finances.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that the revenue authority can understand.
Exactly.
You either received
Because
money.
most of the money that KRA receives, they actually receive it.
Yes.
Earlier.
You have received it. So all I'm doing is.
So just give us your statement.
Yes.
This is what I earned. Then we'll go compare with what you have.
What you have.
What we already have.
Yes.
And then find if there's any variance, then we'll ask you what's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let me come to the question. We had a gentleman by the name of Mr. Yeager in the studio a while back.
Oh, yes.
And he mentioned something that I particularly found very delightful. That KRA can owe me money.
Yes.
It's very pleasing. Just the thought of it is very pleasing.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the reality.
Yes.
At what point will KRA owe me money?
Okay, let's get this. For example, you are an employee. Let me just use the word of employee.
Yes, please.
You are an employee, and you, over that financial year, some pay were deducted from you.
Yes.
But then you had some reliefs, because you do have reliefs if you have insurance, or if you have a mortgage. These reliefs are supposed to be deducted from the pay that you are supposed to pay. So you might, when you're working, the amounts that you're supposed to pay, you need to deduct those reliefs. Now, in the process that the reliefs are more, I mean, you deducted it and you ended up
paying more. So you are supposed to pay maybe 10,000 or maybe 20,000, but because of the relief of 5,000, you were supposed to pay 15,000, but you paid 20,000. So KRA owes you the 5,000. That bit even I can understand, but now me actually receiving the 5,000.
Oh yeah, now I know what you're talking. The refund part of it.
KRA na muganga same was up. Kiendacho kwa muganga.
The refund part of it. I think that's where people need to be more educated on. In that before you are refunded, actually there's some kind of a check that is being done. It has to be checked to be confirmed that you really owe that. And you may not know, but when you are filing your returns, there is a place where you can upload that evidence to make it easier so that we don't have to come looking for you. You can upload the evidence of your overpayment so that by just looking at that, the person doing that check can actually look at it and recommend your refund without having coming to you.
How long does this take? I mean, in terms of time, what are we talking about here? Because there are folks who talk about applying for such refunds and don't get them for years. Are we saying the reason why they're not receiving these refunds is because this check has not taken place?
Yes.
And
most
then
probably.
Who should be the initiator of this check to say that, all right, you've applied for a refund, we need to do this background or foreground check, whatever the case may be? Who should initiate that process?
We have officers who do that. But I will also advise you that you can follow it up. You as an individual, you can follow it up. But the office, we have our systems that will pick it up. And like I said before, in the absence of the evidences that are needed, then we find it very difficult to go
How
ahead.
long should it take? Let's just assume that CT has all his ducks in a row. He said this and this and this is what I've done, what I've over, applied for. And he says, here's all when he's filing his returns come the 30th of this month, he has uploaded all said evidence. and then has initiated the request and said, can I get my money back, Kerry?
Yes, that will take
How long should it take?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah.
All right. So within 30 days, then you get your money back.
Yeah,
so then are we unequivocally saying that these folks who complain about, I've lodged for a refund on insurance relief for years, but never got a refund, the question is, do you ever refund? They fall into this category of
we
having
do
not
refund only
uploaded?
that maybe they are not taking time of following it up. The system is that, the way people feel is that once you have lodged your return and you know there is a refund, you should get it automatically. Actually, that is
it should be.
But now, again, I will not, if I'm the one who is looking at your records, I will not be able to pay you until now. Where is the evidence of that? Which people do not actually do.
Walter, if you have evidence that I have not filed my returns, if you have evidence that I have not remitted my taxes, if you have evidence that I have remitted my taxes, surely you must have evidence that I have over-remitted my taxes.
I can see it, but where are the documents?
Everything supports. Essentially, what
document is what you have.
Come on.
What I filed is showing I owed you 15,000.
Yes.
What you have received is 20,000. What more evidence?
You of course, we will look at. We need to see from. In fact, most of them will come from you. If you are an employee, most of those evidence will come from the employee. But you have to give us that because I cannot just say, okay, if I am the person analyzing all this and I found all these people claiming, I cannot just say yes. I have to be convinced that really.
That makes sense, but I have to go back to that point that if you are here and you're sifting through this information and you see that there's an overpayment and this person has also applied, what I'm hearing from you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we look at it and we see that there's an overpayment, we see that this person has applied, but we're going to sit on it and wait for this individual to bring this information to us. In the absence of that action, Kerry is going to be sitting on millions of shillings.
No. We don't wait for you to do that. We'll actually ask you, okay, there's an overpayment here. Can we get the evidence showing that?
So what evidence would you be looking out for?
These are your payments that you've done.
Okay.
Yeah. So receipts of payments and all that.
So receipt of payment.
Yes.
This is the bank transfer.
The bank transfers and all.
You see, the bank transfer goes with what I had filed. When I file my returns, I receive what's it called from the KRA system that tells you this is how much you're paying and this is your unique number that you shall input for this. So it's coming from you. So you want me to give you your own documentation to prove that I'm the one who filed those?
I think it's a wide topic and we may not have the answer right now. But actually, what
basically
is that we subject
you're saying you
to,
take it
to
through due
some
process.
kind of an audit. We have to audit first.
Right.
Then now the outcome is now when we can pay you.
Okay. Yeah. So there are very many people who view this 30th of June as, some big deadline. And they wonder, so why must it be 30th of June? Why can't it go? Why can't you extend? Even IEBC extends when they want us to register as voters. Why can't you extend this thing to August? Even Communication Authority extends when they want us to register with telcos.
Our SIM cards.
Yes.
I think you have to agree with me that you already have 6 months from January to June within which to file the return.
And I think that's a point of emphasis.
Yeah.
That the window opens
in January.
From the 1st of January.
Yes.
Actually,
to 30th of June. But, just like I say, better pay in time than on time.
Most people think that the window opens on the 1st of June.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. So that they're thinking 30 days. Goodness, it's a very short time.
And then the system will collapse. It will hang.
Exactly.
That is what happens. That on 30th, you'll see we have some problems with everybody trying to get into to file their returns.
What does KRA do to ensure that people actually understand this 6 months window?
If you go to KRA has actually been trying a match. We are on Twitter. Even if you go to if you have, all of us have our KRA accounts. If you go to iTax, there's always that thing reminding you. KRA is actually reminding people on a daily basis to do that, to file their returns.
Yeah.
And even on iTax, they'll take you step by step, showing you how to file the returns. And the easiest return to file is the nil return.
So the reason why I mention it,
yes.
I know what KRA does.
Yeah.
KRA even sends emails reminding
Exactly.
you. Okay? They even send SMS messages reminding you.
Exactly.
This I know. But with all these reminders, when I look at the rush in that last week, it tells me that communication is not hitting home as it should.
It's the interpretation.
Yes.
Because even as I'm receiving that message in February,
yes,
remember to file your tax returns, I'm seeing KRA is telling me June is coming.
It doesn't register.
Remember, June, you file your tax returns.
So my mind is in June.
Yes. It's like, remember we're going to have an election on the 9th of August.
Yes.
So I'm like, yeah,
fine.
I'm aware.
We'll wait.
So,
When August comes, then we'll go and vote.
Yeah.
But then now that one, I don't think we'll blame it on KRA per se, because we send the info. But it's now the perception of the Kenyan. How
I'm in
is
agreement
people
with
just take it, and then it is the way we do things, maybe that.
I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah.
You see, I also want to ask the question and thinking, okay, what would KRA need to do in order for people to understand that you don't have to wait for June to file your returns?
And that is what I'm saying, that we have actually done it.
And I'm saying that communication
Yeah.
doesn't hit home as it should. Because if it did, then by June, you'd have people trickling in, just a few people. But June is when there's a rush.
That is our Kenyan mindset. I think we just have to agree with that.
It's
That
saying-
we always wait for the last day, and then we rush.
Actually, you have a point.
There are very, very many questions, but
It's
I think
true.
Eric wants to go to a break with very, very many questions. But it's good you're here, because then a lot of these questions then
Questions are coming
tackle.
in on social
Absolutely.
media, right?
Huge,
28 minutes to 9. Remember, you have about 7 days until the deadline for filing the returns. You could have started filing these returns 1st, 2nd of January, 3rd of January, 14th of February, all the way up to the end of this month. It's also possible for you to file these returns from across the country. Remember, 96.4% of Kenyans have access to 3G or 4G network. That is, almost the entire country has access to 3G or 4G network, which means everybody has access to the internet, right? And this is thanks to the Communication Authority, which has been working very, very hard through the Universal Service Fund, which is helping to make sure that they spread connectivity. Everybody gets access to communication across the country. Good job that's been done by the Communication Authority. Walter Omata is from the Kenya Revenue Authority, and we're talking about how easy and convenient it's been made by the KRA for you to file and pay your taxes. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Feel the roar. KCB is bringing you the World Rally Championship on the 23rd to the 26th of June 2022. Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quach, to find out more about it and how KCB has made it possible for you to enjoy all the action. KCB, go ahead.
Yaani mtu ako Nairobi na nimemuzia ng'ombe. Sijatoka shamba, lakini school fees za huyo mtoto nishalipa tayari.
Nikiwa na shida, naweza pigia hospitali wakati wowote na nisaidike. Hello,
Through the Universal Service Fund, USF, the Communications Authority of Kenya, CA.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to
Cloudy
Spice
conditions at
FM.
16 in Nairobi, highs of 21 and lows of 14, and 7 in a mostly sunny Nyeri at 15, going to highs of 20, 22 with a high in Eldoret, where it's mostly cloudy at 14. We'll see lows of 12. The rain continues in Mombasa at 24, highs of 28 and lows of 23, and it's also also raining in Malindi at 27. It'll go to highs of 29 and lows of 25. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 18. While Kakamega is cloudy at 21, we'll see highs of 27 and lows of 14. It's sunny at 20 in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 18. While at 23, Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny, we'll see highs of 29 and lows of 22. 9 degrees and cloudy in Joburg, highs of 13 and lows of 7. And it's raining in Lagos now at 24 with highs of 30. 30 will also be the high in a sunny Kinshasa, currently at 20.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, still looking at that traffic situation. We are in traffic hour, and that continues for some time. Coming off Outer Ring, that doesn't look too bad now. We had that flow of traffic that was coming off Kangundo, Juja, and Manyanja Road, but then the eastern side of the city not looking too bad. At the entrance of Outer Ring, and you're going through to the junction of Lunga Lunga, that traffic is really, really heavy, and it's bumper to bumper, spilling over to Lunga Lunga. Jogo Road looking a little bit better now, but then now is when Landis Road has taken over, and it's bumper to bumper going all the way to the Kamkunji roundabouts. Uhuru Highway then through to the city and out towards Western still continues to be a thing. Traffic getting into the city is considerably slower now. Coming off of the Thika Superhighway, much better now past the Utali Drift, and we see one-way traffic now on Kiambu Road where we're coming off of bumper to bumper double traffic. Much better now as well coming out of Limuru Road. Let's keep an eye on things. Let's see what traffic hour does in a half hour or so, and then we talk on Spice FM. KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
23 minutes to 9. We continue the conversation.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
KRA manager in charge of agriculture and real estate sector at the East and South Nairobi Tax Office. We are talking about filing and paying your taxes and how easy that has been made. Ndu, many questions.
Many questions this morning. Let's start from a few of them. Nandi says, I forgot my password and I tried to change. They sent it through email, but it is not working. I've tried more than 4 times to be able to communicate with somebody. How do I get about this by the time the deadline rolls through? I'll give you another one. Can you explain to us in detail how one is supposed to file their taxes? Not all of us know the process. Maybe we can start with those two now, because they're quite a number.
Okay. Well, the first person asked about change of password. Did he get it, or he got the password? He got the password.
It was sent to email, but not.
It was sent through email, but that particular password that they received was not working, and they've tried 4 times thereafter to generate another one, but then.
I think, what you should do, keep on generating that, because maybe there's a problem with that password, or maybe the way you should not copy it, copy and paste. Shouldn't copy and paste.
You should just
write exactly what is there. So maybe that is where we have a problem.
Okay.
Do not copy and paste. Write using the your typewriter until you get it correctly. And then filing of the tax return. What did you say?
How exactly this works? I think it's
Someone
a really
wants to be
simple
taken through a
question,
step-by-step tutorial.
First of all, tell them where they can get the step.
That's what I'm going to say. That go to KRA website. You'll get a tutorial on how.
Yeah.
To file that return.
What's the KRA website?
Yeah. The KRA portal. KRA portal.
This is itax.go.ke.
Yes, exactly.
itax.go.ke.
The KRA portal.
Yes.
And from there, there's they'll be taken through. There's
okay. I think it's because it's HTTPS.
And if you are not, another thing is, if you cannot, then I'd advise you visit the next KRA office that is available, We also are in Huduma centers.
Okay.
You can visit there and you should be able to be assisted in filing your returns. Yeah.
There are people who have also offered these services at a fee at cyber cafes
Yes,
and all.
and there's some cyber cafes, but you need to be very careful. They have cyber cafes because the email addresses they use, they could be using their own email addresses.
Yeah.
So that when you go get the service from there, any communication from KRA doesn't come to you.
It goes to them.
It goes to them. So when you are there, you be careful that you give them your correct email address and ask them to use that email address, your email, not their own email addresses. So we've been having problems with that. In fact, the first case of password, I thought it went to a wrong email address. So normally that's what happens, that you go to a cyber.
So you go to a cyber, the person at the cyber looks at you and asks, "Uko na email?" So they create an email.
Yeah, exactly.
And they, just for purposes of creating your account on
getting your
iTax
PIN number.
and getting your PIN, and then they file for you.
Yes.
After that, they close, you pay them, move.
They move on.
So KRA now has communication with this particular email address, which nobody is opening.
Nobody's opening and nothing. We can't get you. And you keep on wondering why you have issues. And yet you cannot get, if your password is stuck, for example.
Okay.
You renew
How do
and
you
it comes-
assist those who have gone through that predicament? Those who have a PIN,
yes,
they last year filed their returns.
Exactly.
This year they're not able to access their
I'll advise them
KRA portal.
to come to the nearest KRA office, or go to the Huduma centers where we have KRA officers, and they will be assisted in filing the returns. We actually have officers there whose job is just to assist in filing the returns.
Will they assist them by also giving them a new email address?
Yeah, they will. They will do it in such a way that rectify it so that they give you the correct email address.
Okay.
They'll actually rectify your account.
So just again, KRA.go.ke.
Yeah.
If you go to the website, you'll get video tutorials on how to file the returns.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at another question. Please request KRA to clarify the statement that KRA is not in the business of refunding taxes, but rather collecting taxes.
Wow.
Is that a thing?
No.
Maybe you can clarify that. Because then again, there are quite a number of people who still think that it is not about refunding taxes, but collecting them. So when it comes to the refund issue, we have some ambiguity.
No, there is that issue of fairness. We got to be fair to you. So KRA, as much as KRA collects, we are also allowed to refund in cases where in cases where due processes have been followed. So when your refund is genuine, I believe you should be able to get your refund.
Okay.
Yes.
On that note, then the next person, Julius, asks, please, I've lodged a refund on insurance relief for several years, and have never gotten a refund. What should I do?
Yeah, well, let me advise Julius. First of all, go to your station. And if you want to know your station, just print your PIN certificate. It will tell you whether in Nairobi West, east of Nairobi. It will show that, please. Go to your station, and then go to KRA has got this relationship management. Go to your relationship manager or your account manager, and your problem will be sorted out from there. Yeah.
Must I make a trip? Is there a number that I can call?
Yes, there are various numbers that you can call. Yeah.
And they'll find them on the website as well.
Yeah, and just go to the website, you'll find.
Okay.
You can call the call center, and they'll direct you to your station or your account manager or your relationship manager.
Okay. Now, in terms of meeting somebody that will be able to help you, Colin said, I had an overpayment evidence back in the year 2018. All right. He went to Times Towers, but he was dismissed and nobody was listening to his query. Please, can you tell us with transparency on the issue of returns? I told you, Walter, everybody's asking about these questions of returns. This individual has done exactly what you've asked.
Yeah.
Has gone to Times Tower and they told him, no, sorry, please. Let's talk about something else. Essentially. So what happens? What happens in that case?
I don't know what happened in his case, but I believe that We have processes on how to address these issues. I don't know where he went to.
He says he
But
went to Times Tower.
Times Tower, who did he see? Because Times Tower, you might go and maybe in another...
He went to a department
which does not deal
with that matter.
So that's why it's essential that you know where your station is. If you know where your station is, it makes it very simple, because now you can walk to the station, you go to the head of the station. If you have a problem, I think that's how we have the head of stations. They should be able to assist you in that. If you cannot get assistance from the people down here, go to the head of the station and you'll be assisted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marion says there's a question about the reconciliation of employment income. Where does one get help? Because some of the officers had tried to take advantage and asked for kitu kidogo.
Wow. That statement you said always gets me. I don't want to hear about it, but anytime I hear that, I'm always taken aback by that. But I'm not going to deny that he didn't get that information. But if you have that, KRA has got a way of dealing with such people, such situations. You can report. Exactly. Just walk to. You can come. I'm the relationship manager. If my officer is doing that, I'm the manager. Please come and report to me. If you feel that you cannot do it, you can also do it discreetly. And we have this. This we call it whistle@kra.go.ke. Just right there. Nobody will know who's done that, and from there we'll follow it up. Or we also have the Intelligence and Strategic Office. These are people who go investigation. They do those investigations. You can also write there to cic@kra.go.ke. If you feel that you
That
are...
is CIC.
CIC.
CIC@kra.go.ke.
And then we have whistle
at kra.go.ke.
Those are areas that you report such issues if you cannot face the person. But I prefer that if you come and an officer tells you that, better come and see the manager. Because somebody will just walk away very frustrated, like this gentleman is very frustrated. And you go away frustrated and your problem is not solved. So I'd rather you just walk into the manager's office and say, what's going on?
What is this?
What is this? Because as a manager, I always feel very bad when a taxpayer says that, because taxpayers are, to us, or to me, those are our customers. And we need to treat them with the way you treat your customers, anybody. The customer is always right, as we also say.
So there's a substantive part of that question, which is reconciliation of incomes.
Employment income.
How do you do that? What is reconciliation
what
of
he says is that
income?
Reconciliation simply of employment income simply means what you have declared in your return vis-a-vis what your employer has declared. Do they rhyme? Are they the same? We have situations where the employer declares less than what they have deducted from you. So in such a situation, we'll have to ask the employer to pay the difference. Yeah. And if certain things like that happens, I understand there are frustrations, because in that situation, you cannot even get the TCC, the tax compliance certificate. Because when you apply, tax compliance certificate should be automatic. Should you be able to apply for it and generate
it? Generates automatically.
But if there is some variance somewhere, then it won't go through. So it's just you have to come to KRA to just reconcile this. Find that, okay, my employer deducted 10,000, and this 10,000, is it reflected in his returns? If it is so, then okay. If it is not, then now we have to ask the employer where the money got. Yeah. If it is paid, and then now we talk.
How does it happen? When you're filling out this form, do you get the P9 form?
Yes.
From your employer?
Your employer.
Right?
Yes.
If the employer is generating the P9 form, it basically is showing what they have deducted.
Exactly.
So how does...
But that one does not mean that the amount they deducted was remitted.
I see.
That is the problem.
So the issue is in the remittance.
Yeah, remittance.
So once I have filed with my P9 form,
yes,
and I have put in the details,
yes,
should you not then be dealing with the employer? I have played my part. Why am I the one getting the inconvenience of not being able to access the tax compliance certificate?
That's why we say we need that reconciliation, because we have to start with you. You are the person who, from you.
I'm the taxpayer.
Because this thing is self-assessment. It is self-assessment. So the taxpayer should be, we do not know. It is you the employer or the employee who self-assess themselves, isn't it? So whatever you send to us, we believe is true, unless something comes out. Like now the employee comes out and says, no, there's something wrong. We won't know until somebody comes out with that.
Okay.
So that's where the reconciliation comes in.
Okay. So is there a way that it can be made easier for everybody to know exactly what they ought to do when it comes to filing returns, especially for those who are supposed to file nil returns when they're not in a working situation?
I think nil return is the easiest one to do, and you can do it on your phone. You just download the KRA app. There's an app there called It's called M Service. KRA M Service. It should take you about 1 or 2 minutes to file your nil return. So you don't have to go looking for that. Just download the M Service. From there, you can also apply for a PIN. You can do the checker. There's a tax checker. If you're dealing with somebody and you are not very sure whether that person is registered, you can actually check whether that person has got a PIN or is registered. So I think the M Service application is very, very easy to use, and it can help a lot, especially on people who have got no income at all.
Is it possible for the system to have kinks? Because that's another issue that's coming up now, that folks are saying that they have, payments due of up to 35,000 shillings. Meanwhile, an individual has never defaulted in terms of remittances that are made on a monthly basis. When having gone to KRA, they've been told to get all the P9 forms. How do they go about that?
Historical.
Yes. It's just historical because that is about doing an audit. You have to check, it involves a lot of, you just have to go to historical.
So then what happens? Should you get these P9 forms and they do this historical audit once again, and they find that there's an error here with this 35,000 or whatever on the account, what happens in a case like that?
An error on which side? Like,
on KRA's side.
Yeah. We'll have to rectify. Maybe our system, we did not capture it correctly now. So we'll have to rectify that.
What is a P9 form?
This is what you are given by your employer showing
what you paid for the whole year.
The whole year.
The details of what you've paid.
Of your payments, your contributions, if there's any reliefs.
So from that form, KRA can determine, looking at what was deducted from my salary, as you commented, that sometimes it may not have been remitted, but it was deducted. So now that provides me with the proof that actually I'm compliant.
Yes.
So what if there was, so that's interesting then, Walter. So what if there was an error and then I got into a payment plan, which we also know happens with KRA. There was an error in my fear or whatever, trepidation, I started and got into this payment plan. And then we come to find out later that actually I was right and I've been paying KRA for money that I actually did not owe KRA.
Then that's where the refund comes in.
You start now providing evidence.
I still give you evidence.
No. That one, we already have the evidence, remember? Yeah. So this one can be given as, it can be done two ways. You can be refunded or you can request to use this money to offset future liabilities.
So there's the assumption that there will be a future liability.
Yeah, if you are still employed.
Right.
Yeah. Or
so
of course, everybody's in business or people are earning.
Which is easier for the client? To leave it in the KRA system in the hope that it can be used in the future? Because the story of the refund, it seems to be a bit it's a lovely discussion. It's like a pleasant thought that it can happen.
Out of
aspirational, futuristic expectation. That doesn't really seem to happen. So it seems as though, and maybe you can correct us, but it seems as though, that money is okay, just leave it with us. It's
becomes
still
a credit.
You're still together.
It's a credit.
I'd rather use it to settle,
to offset future
tax liability.
But it actually makes sense. I would like a position where KRA owes me. It feels good,
doesn't it?
Yes.
No matter how much it is, no matter how
credit
much it is.
of 6 shillings.
So conversationally, I'll not mention the amount. I said, but KRA owes me money.
KRA has my money.
It has my money. So
On the issue of this filing, so at the end of every calendar year,
yes,
is when now you start at the end you have the next 6 months to file your returns.
Including, that one includes even companies.
Right.
If you are, because the company is now filing for on 30th, that companies with accounting year ending December.
Yeah.
So they are supposed to be filing on 30th of June. So you just count 6 months after the end of your accounting year.
Of your accounting year.
Yes.
For individuals, it's a calendar year.
It's a calendar
For
year.
companies, it's
The end of the accounting year.
end of their accounting year.
Yes.
Now, let's deal with the individuals.
Yes.
Between this January 1st and the 30th of June,
Yeah.
if I file my returns on the 15th of January, do you process that immediately, or do you wait until the end of June to start processing all of them and now saying, okay, Eric, you have issues with your P9, they don't correspond with your employers, or is it automatic? Is
This
it
is
immediate?
automatic because everything we are doing online. We
Mhm.
are doing it also. The computer actually works it out immediately.
So if there's an issue, it's highlighted at this.
It just be highlighted immediately. If you want to know if you have an issue, I can just go and highlight it. If I want to know, that's how we use our parameters to judge.
Okay, so one other question. I mean, I think we've heard that, come to KRA if you have an issue and we can sort that out. So kindly request to explain more about people with disability and then what they're supposed to do in the event of having to come and get clarification.
People with disability, most of the people take it that they are exempted from paying taxes, but actually they are not. It's only that they are exempted up to a certain limit. That is 150,000 per month. The first 150,000 is not taxable. So that is about 1.8 million in a year. So if you earn more than that, then the other part, which is up and beyond 101.8 million, is now charged to tax. Yeah.
When they have complaints
before
and
you-
such,
yes.
do they also need to physically go to Duma Center, to KRA, or is there a simpler way of addressing their concerns?
Oh, no, I get what you're saying. You're saying in terms of disability. How
In terms of that disability, like physically having to come to Times Tower or wherever your center is.
I think that one will involve at least, yes. If they cannot do it online, in the sense that calling, then unfortunately they just have to come.
Okay.
Yeah, they just have to come.
Are there expedited desks at
Yes, we do
KRA
have.
where you will come and see if you're
If
somebody
you go
with
to
disability?
offices, actually there are areas designated for disabled persons, people with disabilities. And of course, I remember even when I was in CBC, I used to deal with some individuals who were disabled. I had to come down, so they don't have to come up.
Okay.
I will walk down and deal with them and then let them go. Because KRA has got that one in place.
Okay. That intelligence department, what else do they do?
Investigation.
Eric is asking for a friend.
Of what?
They do a bit of investigation. So that is the word intelligence. So you know what they do that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So KRA has an intelligence.
Eric, tuambie tu ile mambo yetu before the...
Yeah, we deal with it here.
Let's deal with it.
Before the intelligence guys.
Before you better... And by the way, right now we have that voluntary disclosure program.
Yeah.
Yes. That you simply say, okay, over the years I've not been paying, but I've just decided now to declare what I've not been declaring.
It's like a tax plea bargain.
Yes, and then when you do it, okay, this year, when you do it, then the penalties are
waived,
capped at 50%. If you had done it last year, it was all of it.
100%
100%
for penalties.
For penalties and interest.
Walter, this is a conversation that we need to have again and again and again.
Thank you.
For everybody, as you can see, there are very many questions and concerns about how to engage and understand KRA and all its work. But we thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Walter is the KRA manager for the agriculture and real estate sector in the East and South Nairobi Tax Office. We've been talking about filing and paying your taxes, filing your tax returns, individuals. You have got until the end of this month. Companies whose financial year ends in December, you also have until the end of this month. Make sure you do this. Keep it here for more conversations. We've also been live on KTN Home. Conversations continue on SpiceFM and online, YouTube and Facebook, and www.spicefm.co.ke. It's now 9 o'clock.
spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. As debate continues over degree certificates and their authenticity, especially for politicians whose academic credentials have been put under sharp focus by the electoral body IEBC, Education CS George Magoha now says that the Commission of University Education should be allowed to do its job. He says that authenticating a degree is an exercise that happens every day and that it's not new, adding that the politicians should stop politicizing the exercise.
Every day, every week, every month, as a leader of a university, we keep checking the authenticity of degrees of our employees and our graduates who are working elsewhere. So this noise you are hearing is political. It's not professional, and I really don't have time to waste there. It's political. It is not professional at all. And by the way, it is important to allow Q to do its work. There is nothing important. If you want to check whether I graduated with a degree in medicine, you will call, you pick a phone and call the University of Lagos and see whether I had transcripts there. Most of the times we do this in the back room. Even here in Kenya, it will be done in the back room. But unfortunately, when it is now public thing like IEBC and they say you can't go, then it becomes an issue. So remove politics from it. That is one of the things that will not bother any Kenyan.
He says that going to court is not the solution to authenticating degrees, as there are bodies mandated to do that.
Because if you claim to have a degree, you can't walk into a room and get a degree. No judge can give you a degree. IEBC cannot give you a degree. A degree must come from a university. What is the problem? In fact, if I was to, I don't have powers, but if I had, I would say that because of all this noise, everybody's degree should now be checked. Everyone. So that we find out if they are actually, if this is actually a problem, because it's becoming a big issue.
This as Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja and Machakos gubernatorial aspirant Ovinya Ndeti and other politicians continue to battle allegations that their degree certificates were fraudulently acquired. Now, former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo is now accusing UDA flag bearer William Ruto of being behind the divisions within the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Speaking in an interview on KTN News, Kabogo said all parties that had signed a partnership agreement with UDA to join Kenya Kwanza had been discriminated against, with Ruto leading his party in campaigning for UDA candidates only.
You will not tell me that the Honorable William Ruto will be asking for, through his deputy designate, for people to vote UDA, and he knows I'm a candidate. Before he would say, will you give me a UDA MCA? Will you give me an MP for UDA? And would you give us a governor for Kenya Kwanza?
Okay.
But now that has changed. MPs come and say, mutatupatia governor wa UDA, mutatupatia MP wa UDA, vile vile mtatupa MCA wa UDA. While the deputy designate is on the same vehicle, and he does not say anything about Kenya Kwanza. So it's like a marriage that is one-sided.
Kabogo, who wrote a letter to Ruto requesting a meeting to discuss its grievances, said he has resigned from Kenya Kwanza and would now focus on his campaigns with the aim of winning Kiambu's top seat.
The joint SGs of our party, that is Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, and then Chama Chakazi wrote to the principals seeking to have dialogue and deliberate on the issues that were of concern to both Chama Chakazi and Jibebe Party. So my Secretary General tells me that he has not received any communication. I only see speculations on social media, people saying that we were supposed to meet on Monday or Tuesday, but we haven't met.
Kabogo and Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria have been complaining about discrimination in Kenya Kwanza coalition. Now, the National Authority for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, NACADA, has cautioned against the legalization of marijuana for economic purposes, saying it could lead to tragic consequences, especially for the country. The authority's Chief Executive Officer, Victor Okioma, cited countries like Peru, Mexico, and other South American countries that have legalized the drug and pointed out that they have suffered the consequences. He also announced that the authority has rolled out measures to combat cross-border drug trafficking in countries that border Ethiopia, the main source of marijuana consumed in the country. Okioma said they were out to facilitate the forum to address the challenges of trafficking of marijuana. And Paul Kisher, with a Kenyan lawyer facing charges of interference and with witnesses at the International Criminal Court, will make its final submissions to the court on Monday next week. The Hague-based court released a schedule indicating that the ICC prosecutor and Gicheru will deliver the closing statements on the case on the 27th of June at The Hague in the Netherlands. The court also indicated that each party will be accorded 1 hour for their statement. As per the ICC, Gicheru will attend the hearing via video technology. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
A few minutes after 9 o'clock and still traffic on our streets this morning, and that's what we are seeing. Getting into the CBD might take a bit of time if you are coming off Jogo Road, understanding that no PSVs are allowed into the city centre except you're going via Jogo Road, because then you're going to get off at the Green Park terminus. Okay, coming off the Thika Superhighway, looking much better now as you get towards the Pangani underpass is where you see the most of it, but then after that, we're all right. Westerns didn't do too badly today. Mombasa Road performing stellar in terms of traffic. We'll keep an eye on things through the morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room on SpiceFM and online. We are on to the final hour of the show this happy Thursday, 23rd day of June, and CT Muga has the final proverb from Pate Island.
Yes. Choma kwa choma, haichomani.
Choma kwa choma, ni choma mbili.
Yes. A tip doesn't stab a tip.
No, it doesn't.
No. A knife doesn't stab a knife.
No.
It needs flesh.
Yes, it needs another surface other than
one that is not pointed.
Yep.
Sindio?
Ndio.
With more surface area.
Sindio?
Ndio here.
Even me, I think so. Conversations have been taking place, with regards to cost of living and all these things. And there are very many things. So first we look at what's happening on the roads. People are complaining about the state of accessing the city. If you're in public service vehicle coming from Mombasa Road, you cannot go through Haile Selassie because now the Green Park bus terminus has been opened. You're supposed to find your way through Mudhuru or Landis Road into CBD.
Yes.
So Jogo Road, Mombasa Road, vehicles coming from these roads, all of them Landis.
Yes.
Going up Ngong Road, you want to board a matatu, you go to Uhuru Park.
Same.
So that you can board now a matatu to go to Ngong Road, to Dagoretti, to any of those places.
Isn't it easier to just walk to the destination?
But people really resist change, eh?
No, it's not a question of resisting change, Eric. Just look at the logic behind this thing that we are being told.
It's a terminus.
I understand.
Remember the bus terminus where the current bus station is.
Yes.
Down Rodangala.
Yes.
So that's where the bus terminals was. These are just stops.
I understand perfectly.
Uh-huh.
It was a Kenya bus terminus
Uh-huh.
for Kenya bus.
Uh-huh. Which were like the main modes
Yes.
of transport then.
It was
Yes.
the main. And then it had its garage, another thing in Isili.
Isli.
I understand that perfectly.
But then there'd be quick stops, hop on, hop off. At
All over
Ambassador.
yes. There are all these stations, and they were designated, and they were made for use. Now, that system worked then. It morphed into what we have. The population is much larger.
Yes.
The transport system is different. Now, you're saying this one size is supposed to fit all, and I'm saying no, it doesn't.
City, before we even go further, because
Okay.
I agree with what you're saying, but also look at it from, we're not talking about bus stops. We're talking about termini, stages.
Yes.
Railways is a stage for all matatus that are going up Langata Road into Kiserian, into Magadi.
I have understood.
Right?
And where are the stops for these matatus?
Now along the routes.
Where are they exactly?
See now, if you're hopping on at Nairobi West, you'll hop on and hop off on the stages. The issue is, move this thing from Railways terminus, bring it to Green Park terminus, bigger, better organized. Railways is not a terminus. It's just next to the railway station and the railway headquarters, and the go downs on the other side. Look at the other bus terminus that we have. Globe Cinema Roundabout has been made into a stage. Fire Station was a stage. You know where matatus just come now and wait and queue.
Yes.
So that congestion, decongest that and give it order. You see the logic of that?
I see the
Give
thinking
it order.
behind the logic.
Remove
yes.
matatus from Latema Road that are just revving throughout the day.
And sitting there and
sitting
causing
there.
a jam.
Exactly.
Yes.
And create a proper terminus for them.
You know what it is that we are looking at? Yes, indeed. That order and, direction is being invited now when you're looking at this new bus stop. But the thing is that...
bus terminus.
It's okay. Terminus, because there's embarking
like
and disembarking.
headquarter.
I got it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Ume got it, eh?
I got it.
Yes.
So, the thing is that the railways bus terminus, which is actually not one, has been there for yonks. And that people have grown accustomed to doing that. You get into the city, you're getting in and off of railways, every vehicle going in whatever direction, you can find it there. If you look at Green Park, it's literally 400 meters away. Literally 400 meters away. It's different because if you were coming from Fire Station, for example, and the next vehicle that you needed to get was, down Moy Avenue, if you're just taking the walk and you could go, right? But now here we're saying that you're going to basically have to walk a little ways outside of your normal commute.
Yes.
Okay? So what we're doing is inviting a change, different from what it was before, and folks are not comfortable with that. Every vehicle, right, you're bringing into the city now has to use a different route. It's causing some congestion. And then people have to get off and then do a walk. You can imagine, so for some people, you didn't have to go very far. You get into your next vehicle and then you're going to work. But then now in the morning, whatever action that you have, you cannot go where you normally used to go before. So it's disruptive in nature. It's changed the way, in about one day, what people have been used to doing for years, for 10 years.
No,
and it's not going to
longer.
And let's just be honest, it's not going to be comfortable. Something that you had done like clockwork with your eyes closed, walk up and go, is not easy for you to do in an instant. It's different from what it normally was. We're asking people to move about in a different fashion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pipe down, I'll engage reverse gear, and ask a nice neutral question. Clearly there are benefits. Okay? What are they exactly?
One, decongest those parts of the CBD.
Wow.
Provide order. Okay. Create order. When you create order, when you remove the matatus that don't have specific order, that you have to have traffic cops at railways throughout the day, telling the matatu wewe songa, wewe toka hapa, wewe fungua njia, wewe usingia hapa. That Basically, you've just made cops become traffic marshals at the bus terminus. And you're saying, no, let's create order. Let's give them somewhere where it's orderly for them to be. This is what is happening.
Look at Kamkunji. Let's look at that second, because this is what they're trying to decongest. From the Kamkunji roundabout, because there are vehicles coming in from Jogo Road, and where their destination was railways, right?
Now the destination is Green Park.
But what they're trying to do is say you will not be going in there. You just go straight. Because people would stop along the way, try to board a vehicle, trying to get off, and they're saying, no, your final destination should be there. So there were police at the Kamkunji roundabout directing traffic, beating the Matatus, telling them to get out of the way. There were police at the roundabout that meets Moy Avenue, coming in from that Haile Selassie, and then going further beyond. There were always police there at every point.
Yes.
So now they're saying, stop this bottleneck here, move that traffic along, and go and finish at the end of this road.
There are also police at City Mortuary. Go on.
But it's not a terminus.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So the issue of the police being there, they're everywhere. So
no, but in this, they're not
now we shall
here.
release police to be also.
So now they can go somewhere else, because their primary job here was to remove all this congestion that was happening. People all going to railways, and it's still in the middle of action. So move along that flow of traffic, move it out, is what they were saying.
You're a believer, I see.
In what?
So what you're telling me, I mean, I'm not convinced, but I'm convinced you're a believer.
Look, in terms of congestion, I think it was a good move. In terms of now the uncomfortability and the poor communication of how it was going to work, then I take a serious issue with that.
So who do we point fingers at this stage?
NMS didn't communicate it properly, unfortunately. It was not communicated well. You wake up one day and there's cops beating a matatu, telling you, no, here you cannot get off, and then people have to get out of the vehicle. They don't even know where they're going. It's raining one day, people have to now try and look for, what are those 3 tricycle things? Look for, to take you to the other side so that you don't get late to where you're going.
You know, one of the things,
it was a mess.
One of the beautiful things about matatus is that they didn't adhere to these bus stop things. They could stop anywhere. That's beauty of matatu. Where you want to stop is where they stop. So you're saying that cannot happen anymore?
No. It can, but it's, highly frowned upon.
Frowned upon by whom?
We'll keep monitoring how this situation unfolds, and well, then the reaction from the matatu operators, from the passengers, whether it's actually creating convenience or not. We will see. In due course, we're already seeing the kind of...
This thing, they're not going to remove it. The bus park has been completed. You think now they're going to say, okay, since it's not working for people, let's not use it anymore? No, they'll use it.
Again,
they must use it.
I'm still in reverse gear mode. Working for people here seems to involve people accepting it. And accepting that this is what we have. And in accepting it, complying with what has been said so that it can work. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And you're also suggesting that 400 meters, essentially what the NMS has done, it has engaged the citizenry of Nairobi into health issues, meaning where previously you walked a short distance, you're going to walk a longer distance, and you're saying it's good for your health, isn't it? That's what you're saying. Okay.
Okay. The other big question that is on people's minds is with regards to what? To
food.
Bei ya unga. As it happens, close to an election, it's happening again this year. Maize flour has shot up to what? 230?
220.
220, 2 kg packet of unga. And it's raising serious concerns. What is it? What's causing this? Is it shortage of maize? Is it tax? What is the issue? Now remember, we have been talking about this and we've been reading what the Millers Association have been talking about. The millers in the country have been talking about shortage. They've been asking the government to, let's have a conversation with the governments of Uganda and Tanzania where there's a surplus of maize. How can we facilitate the faster movement of maize from Tanzanian farms?
Cheaper movement.
Movement from Tanzanian farms onto Kenyan milling plants. So we can siaga this maize so it becomes unga ya ugali.
At a cost
and a cost that can be afforded. Because what they've been complaining about is we're not accessing maize locally. Our NCPB stores are running out. We don't have access to this maize. You have not opened the import window. We have access to the neighboring markets. But the process of clearing our trucks through the borders is long, it's tedious, it's expensive. Now we're getting to that point where it's becoming a scarce commodity. What's the issue?
I don't know, because look, let's look at pre-COVID. It's always used as a benchmark, right? Before 2020, we had seen this issue that there was in terms of a shortage. This was the same year that the NCPB told us that the barns were empty, right? 2 years ago. But we did not see maize flour in the country come to this amount. There was also, just before that, where it took an intervention whereby there was, maybe you can call it a rebasing of the price, and said, look, we cannot have that you will sell a kilo of this maize flour for 100 shillings. It must be reduced. And then we saw that there was the rapid reduction of that across market. So my point, there has been a problem with shortage of maize. It did not start this year. Shortage of maize has been an issue. We even saw that there was the importation of, I believe it was maize coming from Spain, yellow maize and white maize as well. Because they said, look, we don't have enough, let's import it. Still, we did not see that the price went this high. NCB has been complaining that, look, there was a problem of toxins. And there was a shortage as well because of storage issues. Still, we did not see the price go this high. After the initial, that time where there was a bit of teeter-tottering about how much maize flour was going to be, things then now were leveled out. Whatever interventions took place. But now we still have a shortage issue. That drought situation, which is here now, was there in 2021, it was there in 2020, it was there in 2019. So the question is, why then was maize not expensive at that time? Now, we're looking at a time where the factors that influenced a shortage before still remain constant. Why is it that you see the highest ever maize price or maize flour prices in the last 6 years? Why is that the case? Where you're looking at a staple food for a country that should be everywhere, literally, that it should be everywhere, provided for everybody at a price, at a cost that they can afford. Many are saying, well, you know what? It's artificial shortage. So what it does is then it pushes, and it's a staple, so people have to buy it anyway. So you make sure that more people are buying at a higher price, and then you're able to mop up the profits to do something else with the money. It's not something that's new. People do it all the time. But the question is, are you going to put that on the back of a staple that without which the people of the country cannot feed?
You know,
would you do that?
The East African actually has an article on page 2 and 3. The headline is, Tanzania, Kenya face off over maize despite shortage and soaring prices. It's been a back and forth. Back and forth, Kenyan authorities saying, you know, they are international standards. It's IPPC, okay, the International Plant Protection Convention, and the World Trade Organization Agreement on Sanitary and Phytosanitary Regulations. They're also saying, you know, some of the people who want to bring maize into Kenya do not have the requisite export licenses. Tanzania, on the other hand, are saying this is economic sabotage. Okay? We've met the regulations.
Maize is maize.
Maize is maize, and Kenya is just pushing these boundaries so that those things can sit and stay in the lorry. So by the time they're crossing over, the grade and the value is lowered, so that it's a back and forth. Okay. The question that I asked when I read this article was, is there a shortage of maize globally? The answer is no.
No, there is not. If your neighbors here are trying to tell you we have, come and take, what is it? So then gives rise to the belief in speculation that it may be an artificial one.
The story of maize in this country, unfortunately, hasn't been a pleasant story.
No, it hasn't.
And when one talks of artificial shortages, that is a phrase that has been the hallmark of any discussion around maize importation into the country. And there are people who've grown wealthy overnight on this very subject and on this very product of maize, the importation of it. Okay, we've had cases in the past where our own farmers have cried foul. Their products rotting, their products not being taken at the time, their products having a value attached to it that doesn't even meet the cost of having produced the maize itself. So the saga around maize in this country, as I said, has been a pleasant one, especially for the farmer. And Tanzania is also complaining and saying there's the issue of the middlemen. There are people who benefit from this situation, the stalemates and the artificial shortages, as they claim, and matters surrounding this. Now, why it is easy to believe that narrative is because this is not a story that we've heard for the first time in this country. It's always mad in a back and forth, and we even have people who have had cases in court regarding this same issue of maize, its importation, its storage, etc., etc., etc. But since there's no shortage of maize in the world,
how can there be a shortage of maize in Kenya?
Precisely. Or why is there a shortage of maize in Kenya?
It's the Millers Association has been talking about this and talking about, okay, we don't have access to maize locally. We know that maize is available regionally. We'd like to import it, but then there are all these restrictions that have been imposed. Non-tariff barriers, standardization and all. And they've been sounding the red flag. The question is, has the government just been sitting back and saying, all right, this situation shall stabilize itself, just like it's doing with Forex? Dollar shortage, artificial or not, the point is there are people who would like to get the dollar and they're not able to get it presently. Are we staring at a situation where the government is basically just being too slow to respond to a need that is then becoming a crisis? From the beginning of this month, maize flour was about 150.
Yes.
It's gone up to 220.
Yes.
By the end of this month, it'll be 250.
Let's talk 300. It's heading that direction, isn't it?
So it's going to double in about 4 to 6 weeks.
Yes, it is.
And you want to tell me that a government that is just sitting back and seeing all these things happening and there's nothing being done to address the concerns of those who are concerned?
Eric, perhaps I should ask the question. Maybe I missed that particular memo, but what has the conversation from our government been? Because the people we refer to as people in government also live in this country and they're aware of these things. What is the official government position on this matter of the maize shortage and this is not increasing, the soaring prices of maize flour?
That's the question.
What's the government position?
Yeah. Is the government just sitting back and doing nothing? Do the people feel like their government is actually addressing the current issue? People going to the stores and you're also being limited to the number of packets you can buy.
Yeah.
We've started rationing how much you can buy in the stores. Why are we getting to this point?
Not on a staple. On things maybe that need, other kind of regulation or in terms of intervention, but not on a staple. It's very difficult when you see a country then going to the point whereby the staple food or one of the staples of its people then is going through these ringers that we are seeing. And then there's no intervention about it. That at the very least, even if somebody is rated on the poverty scale, at the very least, this person should be able to have maize flour at a price that they can afford. It gives a very poor showing then when you're not able to intervene in such a situation, that this thing should be everywhere, that you see it falling from the sky and people even say you can even afford to throw it away when you have excess in your house. That is what we're talking about. The staple food of any people has gotten to the point whereby the very lowest on the poverty scale is not able to afford it. Folks, we have a problem. It's an issue.
What is the government waiting for? Do they want an Ecuador situation at our doorstep? Because in Ecuador, they are facing problems of food shortage. And what we're talking about with reference to maize flour is a food shortage. The shortage is what is making the prices soar. We're looking at it. We don't hear the government coming in to say, folks, we know there's this situation and this is what we have in store and this is what we are planning to do and this is what we have done. Or perhaps, again, this memo, did you guys receive it and perhaps it went to my spam?
Maybe it went to junk.
It went to junk, yes. Is it?
Probably. Because even I haven't received it. Maybe they've sent something.
Have you received it?
To who?
No, we're just saying.
No. Have you checked your junk folder?
Yes.
Maybe it's spam.
No, it's not. Got nothing. I don't got mail. There's nothing.
Because you see, one of the problems, again, is that it is coming hot on the heels of the increase of fuel prices in the country as well. So the question then, unfortunately, that we have to face is, what else are we going to experience? Because fuel up, we've seen.
Yep.
Food now
up.
Up.
Seen.
Okay, so and with fuel up, everything else is going to go.
Everything else goes up.
So then,
is the government doing enough to address the soaring prices and the cost of living, especially as we head towards the election? Are the main campaigns also addressing this? Are you hearing anything that is substantive from Azimio? Are you hearing anything that's substantive from Kenya Kwanza? Are you hearing anything substantive from Wajakoya or David Waihige?
Nope.
Are they addressing it?
Are you hearing anything substantive from even those who are vying for gubernatorial positions? Because when we talk about hunger, when we talk about shortages, they are in our counties.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and the numbers keep increasing.
Food security is a national issue.
It is a national, in fact,
at all levels,
precisely,
of the country. Let's take a break on this note. 0719-012-600. We will be opening up the phone lines to get to engage with you on this particular matter. We are seeing price of unga skyrocketing, price of oil already. Fuel, CT told us just plan with 200.
Yeah, you just plan
we're heading
200.
there.
Yes.
Price of cooking oil up there. We were told it's Ukraine. Price of what else? Mafuta, sabuni. Up
Everything.
there. We've been told Ukraine.
There's hardly anything that you can look at, and the prices.
Price of the dollar up there. What? Ukraine.
There's nothing that has
Price
reduced.
of the euro up there again.
Wouldn't you be
Ukraine.
hard pressed to find something that actually has reduced in price over the last 6 months? Consumables, services, goods.
Surprise
Nothing.
us.
Reduced.
Even
I'm
chumbi.
just saying, surprise me. So because maybe there's
Even
something.
me, I don't know.
Oh, you are like me
I'm
also?
looking.
Even kiribit. That's gone up. The Communications Authority has been doing some good work. As you know, there is all this access to telecommunication services across the country. 96.4% of Kenya's population has access to either 3G or 4G. Some have access to 5G. 3G, 4G Universal Service Fund by the Communications Authority has been deployed to make sure that there is access into those far-flung areas. So people have access to information, people have access to financial services, people have access to a lot of services just because of ease of communication. And this is a good thing. And that's why Communications Authority, we're basically saying, well, yeah, kudos to a good job that's being done. We'll also talk about how Communications Authority has actually increased access to, broadcasting, radio, TV, internet broadcasts. If you look at access to print and print material, a lot of it. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a quick break. 27 minutes to 10.
Mi siwezi ishi bila simu. Lazima niwe available kila saa, offline na online. Lakini siku hezi pita bila kupata hizo text za mara nimeshinda pesa, mara nimetumiwa pesa nafaa kurudisha. Tabia kama hizi zinaweza isha. Watu wakiregister SIM card zao kama mimi, na ni rahisi sana.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, licenses and regulates mobile operators so you can enjoy safe, quality services at fair prices. Register your SIM card by the 15th of October 2022. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, you need to Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
17 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions. Highs of 22, lows of 14. It's 18 and mostly cloudy in Nakuru. Highs of 24 and lows of 13. And light rain continues in Nyeri at 17. Highs of 20 and lows of 13. 18 and mostly cloudy in Eldoret. Highs of 22 and lows of 12. It continues to rain in Mombasa. Highs of 28 and lows of 24. And we'll see lows of 25 in a partly sunny Malindi. Currently at 28, going to highs of 29. It's mostly cloudy at 23 in Kisumu. 23 also in Kakamega. And we'll see mostly sunny conditions at 23 in Kampala, going to highs of 26 and lows of 18. The sun is out in Dar es Salaam. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 22. Let's look out into Joburg, where it's cloudy at 9, highs of 12 and lows of 7, and raining in Lagos at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 24. Out in Beijing, it's 36 degrees and sunny going into early evening, highs of 36 and lows of 22. Looking into Paris, where it's cloudy at 19, highs of 27. 26 will be the high. In a rainy London at 16, and it's partly cloudy in New York. Still Wednesday night, coming into Thursday, we'll see highs of 22 and lows of 16. The TikTok of the clock says that we're just out of traffic hour, but we're still seeing that movement going towards Outer Ring, coming off of that Embakasi junction, and that looks a little bit messy right now. Lunga Lunga started doing that thing, so as Jogo Road, we're still looking at traffic there. Langas Road a lot better. Uhuru Highway taking the largest hit, then going out into the city out towards Westlands. Coming out of Westlands, you should be all right, at least for now. Not too bad of a day in terms of traffic, but let's keep our wits about and see what's going on as we go through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Business news with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The Fuel Stabilization Fund has been allocated an additional 49.2 billion shillings after President Uhuru Kenyatta signed the second supplementary appropriation bill of 2022 into law. The increased allocations will supplement the 34 billion shillings allocated to the fund in the first supplementary budget in April. The supplementary budget bill of 2022 makes available a total of 88.8 billion shillings for government expenditure on public services, with the fuel subsidy program getting the lion's share. The government is developing a national e-commerce strategy to boost Kenya's economic opportunities that are supportive of the country's strategic goals and Vision 2030. Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development CS Betty Maina said the state is cognizant that e-commerce that is driven by enhanced digital skills and innovative entrepreneurs is the foundation of economic growth. She said business and individuals in the country need to prepare to reap the benefits of e-commerce presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area Trade Pact, which offers an estimated market base of over 1.2 billion people. Fitch Ratings has found KCB Group's and its co-banking subsidiary KCB Bank Kenya long-term issuer default ratings at B+ with a negative outlook. This is after the ratings agency withdrew its support ratings and support rating flow of KCB Bank and KCB Group, as they are no longer relevant to the agency's coverage following the publication of its updated bank rating criteria on November 12, 2021. In line with updated criteria, Fitch assigned a government support rating of B+ to KCB Bank and no support to KCB Group. Kenyan businesses are being urged to explore capital raising options in the capital markets to reduce in reliance on credit to fund their growth and expansion. This was during the inaugural Nairobi Securities Exchange CFO conference, which enlightened finance leaders on favorable funding models in the public markets. The conference equally offered insights on emerging issues such as environment, social and governance matters that continue to influence capital allocation decisions by investors, as well as other developments including green bonds, real estate investment trust and the unquoted securities platform. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business.
20 minutes to 10, Kenya's biggest conversation, 0719-012-600. We haven't heard from you in a while. Please call in now, 0719-012-600. The price of unga has shot. Within just 2 or so weeks, it's gone up by about 80 bob.
Yes, it has.
Hey, this is just too high. What's happening? Who's to blame? Do you feel the government is doing enough? Do you feel that those who would like to lead us in the coming years are also doing anything about it? That's zero. This thing is okay. It's working. Zachary.
Oh, good morning, you people.
Good morning, you person.
Can I tell you something?
You tell us.
There is a song that we sing in Kikuyu that says, "The thing wa mutuite aito," okay? That it is poverty that had made we seem like as if we are together, okay? But now you are not giving us chances. We the only timers.
Oh, we are sorry about that. Here you are, man. Here you are.
Oh, thank you. Now I hope
the conversation has to be balanced. We have to hear from them and we have to hear from you.
Sure. But after that, I know we are going now to go back to our old timers. Now, I hope that everything is okay there. Everyone is okay. Morimandro there, Eric himself.
Yes.
And we were told that you had visited Hawaii.
Yes, I had gone to Hawaii.
Oh, that's why I said that this guy is a honcho also. Now, this is the thing. I tell you that I'm on the ground. And you guys who stay in Nairobi, you know Nairobi, the one thing I like about Nairobi, everything revolves around money. Anyone who is surviving in Nairobi, from the street beggar to the big guy, those guys have money. You have to actually have some money to survive in Nairobi, the city called Nairobi. And when you are there, because you are seeing some Range Rover, some whatever there, you know Nairobi is good, yeah? But now come to the ground, yeah? And nimemwambia kwa ground ndio niko na ndio nilimwambia take it to the bank that Wajakoya is the kingmaker, yeah? And I'm happy that now you are believing. So this is the thing. The cost of living, my friend, has gone up. Yesterday I felt like crying when I went out and I talked to some people. There's some woman who was trying to tell me, you see this small kiosk of mine, I'm about to close it down and I don't know what I shall be doing. You see those kids there?
Yep.
If they come and I give them these mandazis, I don't know. As they looked hungry, actually, I had to, chip some 200 to say, oh, go and buy some unga for these people, yeah? And the worst thing is this, that we are seeing, like now the Keroche industries, those guys, you saw them trying to, to tell the president, tightly, for the sake of us, yeah? Let this woman continue, and then you talk with the boardroom how it's going to pay you. Let me tell you, Mr. Eric, and everybody who is listening, yeah? People are hurting. There are so many people who do not know when they wake up tomorrow whether they are going to be alive. And it is not that they are not having helicopters or whatever. They are not having the basic food, not meat. They told you me, I like now eat meat after every 2 days.
You've really
but the
reduced.
doctors are advised. Those people are not complaining about the meat. They are talking about uga.
What should happen? What would you like to see happen, Zachary?
Now, do I really have the solution? Because, okay, what I'm saying is this, yeah? Kindly, those people who are in the height, who the policy makers, let them come to the ground. Let them come to the ground and see firsthand the way people are suffering. There is somebody who's taking just 1 meal a day is a problem. You go to all towns, you see people sitting there, down there. And can I say something, Mr. Eric? Because I'm in a farming area. Do you see the cost of fertilizer that went up? Many people have not been able to go and plant. And there is what we call the multiplier effect. That I have planted my piece of sharp. There is that woman who comes and does the weeding. Now I have not planted. This woman has
She
no
doesn't
work.
get a kibarua.
There are these basic transporters. We are not having a production. So they are vehicles, transport vehicles. They are now redundant. Do you see I even using some very high words?
Yeah.
So
Zachary, thank you.
people are hurting, and pray for us, yeah?
We will. Thank you very much for calling
Thank
today.
you. Have a nice day, people.
You too. Cheers. Kuria in Nyeri.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, Kuria. Thanks for staying on the line.
How are you?
We are very well.
I don't know why Zachary is getting words from my mouth because ako kwa ground and pia mimi niko kwa ground as a farmer. I'm going to tell you things are going to become very thick in the next 3 months if the government does not do anything. Let me give you a very simple scenario. Remember there was a time I said that the government should implement the policies, not just going for Serena hotels and which hotels to talk. Look at case study of Malawi. Those guys produce maize in large quantities. Now me as Kuria a farmer or Zachary in Nakuru as a farmer, Zachary might the fertilizers, the price of fertilizer might depend on the export and the import, not so. But let me ask you, Eric, this river that flows just in my village that is called Wasongiro River, why don't you just pump water into farmers around that area? Kuria is going to employ around 3 or 5 guys. They are going to earn some money in the evening. Right now, Eric, as we speak, in my village, there is no casual work. I mean, there is no casual laborers because there is no fertilizer to dress. Not so.
So there's
Those guys in the evening, they will need some money to eat. They will need some money to eat. And then, look, we pay them around 300 to 400. This price of unga is going to around 300 very soon. Not so with the projection. If you go with the projection.
Yep.
What is the government doing for it? There is a time bomb that is coming. I'm not a witch, neither am I a prophet, but I can foresee.
Something is...
Secondly, the last issue that I'm going to talk about is the GDP of our economy. Where do we get it from? We don't get, in as much as Nairobi County contributes a lot, Eric, in the evening or if during the day, you'll have to eat, won't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other person who is or the medication is told by the doctor, you have to eat very well for you to become healthy. Even the young child at home, I left her telling her, you have to eat such that you become someone. Even the old person has to eat to survive. So the government, does it need for us to come and sit down and make a character like me? Do they need Indians from all the way from India to come and teach us basic things? Eric, things are not good. And on the issue of manifestos, I'm saying as a farmer. There's a place that I'm going, Wajakoa's manifesto. I'm not for it, all of it, but there is one on snake farming. My small research on the internet, whether it is right or wrong, shows me that it is a viable business, even with the snails and cockroaches, more than even the 2 acres I have for potatoes and carrots. So for me, in some way, I subscribe to him. But now these are the major characters. They are only 2. They are 2 predators. But it will depend with how they are going to attack the prey, which are the Kenyans. So my prayer is to Kenyans is let us be very sober during the elections.
Yeah.
Na tusisahau zile vitu mbili tulisema, ukienda kuchaguana usiache akili kwa nyumba, beba akili kama umebeba kitambulisho na voters card. Asante you guys and have a nice day.
Good day, Kuria. Thank you for calling. Pinto in Asembo.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
I previously used to call from Asembo, but now I'm calling from Nairobi.
You're in the big city.
Yes, the big city is really chilly today. I'm wishing I was in Asembo, but that's notwithstanding. This issue, I've heard it from Kuria and the other person who called that if the government doesn't do something in the next 3 months, things are going to be dire. Now, the dissociation that people have that we have put ourselves away from the government, and now we are saying if the government doesn't do something, I think it should be the other way around. But if Kenyans don't do something, because unless it is in the Constitution, that part that says we the people, somehow put that inside there for government. So if Kenyans don't do something, maybe agitating for agriculture and stuff around the agricultural sector to be zero-rated, zero tax kabisa, chakula iko kila mahali. If that doesn't happen, then I think that is where now the rain will be as harder. Ukraine and Russia and hizo mafuta na wheat zenye zinatoka huko, they can grow in our soil. So watu wakuwe tu na some sober mind and see things for what they really are. Kenyans really need to wake up and ask, hii unga itafika pesa ngapi? Ndio tuende tuulize at what point ifike ngapi ndio sasa tufanye kitu kama wananchi.
So instead of asking when will the government act, we should ask when shall we act?
Yeah.
Yes, how much do we want it to get? Ifike 400 kwanza is when we get somewhere
jolted.
where now we cannot. Yes, we can ask people questions like now it is 400 shillings for 2 kgs of unga. So what do we do? And it is within the hands of Kenyans.
That's true. Pinto, thank you very much. That's true.
Thank you very much. Yes.
0719-012-600. We are talking about the soaring price of everything.
Hmm.
Unga, 220. Mafuta, 1 ngapi?
Nini? 159.
Ya kupika ama ya
Oh my goodness.
Ya gari.
A liter of oil, cooking oil, is 460 shillings.
400.
Yes, 1 liter.
Mafuta ile ingine ya gari?
159.
Mafuta ya kujipaka? Mafuta ya kukamua ng'ombe?
Along the same lines.
Starting to use other alternatives to get things done. Look here, even as we talk about the responsibility, the civic responsibility now that Kenyans have to make sure that you're putting people in power who are going to make sure that the very basic needs are met. Yesterday, we had the good doctor from Kipra here. And what did she say? That in terms of what governments ought to be doing, the very basic need is what you need to be paying attention to.
Number one.
Number
Basics.
one. All these other things, we can bring them later. But if your people cannot eat, if your people do not have proper housing, that is your first port of call. Fix that. You kind of fix everything else, isn't it? Fix that, we fix everything else. I believe that right now there are things that can be done. There are things that can be done to make sure that you're getting more food into the country so that you inadvertently reduce the price of some of these things. Your neighbors here have food, Abi. They're shouting, we want to bring it in. How about you have those conversations that will allow that to happen? How about you facilitate for those things to happen? So you're bringing in more food. If you bring in more food, then you're able to have, at a price that people can afford, you have more of it, then you shut down the price. We're talking about interventions that can happen today. But if nobody is doing the bare minimum to make sure that these conversations happen and then the subsequent action takes place, then indeed, then the thing can be said that they do not care.
They don't care.
Yeah. It can be done. We're not talking about something that's in outer space. Even outer space, man, don't reach. Haba.
Lydia.
Good morning, SpiceFM. This is a very good subject.
Good morning, Lydia.
Good morning. This is a good subject about finding food to eat. I was very impressed in a newspaper article that when you, even in your small garden, you can get something to eat. If you take the trouble to grow. And they say when you want to grow seeds, grow them only by 1 foot by 1 foot space. All your seeds, place them there so that you need only very little water to feed all those seeds. And then when one seed woke up into a plant, move that one a little away. The next seed grew up into a plant, move it a little away and move on. This impressed me very much. So everybody who has a garden should treat their seeds close together with little water. And then as one grows up, move it and move it on so that you've got something to eat, even whether it's Wiki or whatever. Thank you, Spice FM. Please educate us about this every day.
All alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Have a good day. 0719-012-600. We're talking about the soaring food prices and the prices of all basic commodities. What is it? What's the government doing? What's it not doing? What are we doing? What are we not doing? What should we be doing? We should also be having these conversations as we look at all these manifestos and plans and promises by the political class as we head towards the election. Those that are talking about it are coming to point fingers at the others. That includes them for not doing anything about it.
Nah.
The food prices are soaring. The government is failing. This is the reason why you should elect us.
You know, that conversation is a tired conversation.
Hold on. Let's hear from Joge. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name? Is it Joge or Njoroge?
Joseph.
Joseph.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Joseph, good morning. Where are you calling us from this morning?
I'm calling from Nairobi.
All right. What do you have to say about this soaring food prices?
Yeah. I think the problem is from the generation we have, because a lot of youth have ventured into motorcycle business and all that. No one is going to the farm nowadays. That is problem one.
Mm-hmm.
Problem number two, the current administration has not ventured too much into agriculture. It is infrastructure. So no one has turned into serious farming. And I think the government, the coming administration should focus into agriculture. Because you can't tell us that there is maize in Tanzania. Who is doing the farming in Tanzania? We can't we have people doing serious agriculture in Kenya? I think we can have.
We should be able to.
Yeah.
We should be able to.
I think the society has to change.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
He's basically saying a lot more attention and maybe better dedicated attention. Because, well, to be fair, the government has, all these plans and all in agriculture, all this money and all in agriculture, but it's probably just going in and not being properly implemented. Let's hear from Arnold, and then we conclude the conversation. Arnold, good morning.
Yes, hello.
Hello. How is Mombasa?
Mombasa is good.
Okay.
Yeah, so my issue about food shortage is that we Kenyans are very comfortable. We wait for things to show up till we can't afford them. That's when we start complaining that, the food prices are up. And we saw this from afar before even it started to going to 150 per 2 kg packet of unga. So we as the citizens, we must take the initiative from ourselves and start pressuring these guys. We won't go to your rallies if we won't press certain issues. Things like that.
Yeah. We have a lot to do about this.
Yeah, we are very comfortable. We don't want to fight these guys. We just want them to complain and say, machine of land, tusaidie. And they can't help us.
That's true. Thank you very much, Arnold, and have a lovely day in Mombasa. City, as we conclude, you were saying some of this political talk is just tiring.
It's nonsensical. And it's tired. Not just tiring, the conversation itself is tired, because surely if you live in this country and you can see the problems people are facing, even if you're campaigning, should your conversation not focus on how these things ought to be, so that people can see that there's a reality to the hope, not these huge schemes for the future. No.
Hawa wameanguka.
No.
Sisi tutafanya.
We live here, we know, we can see. How do we ensure that these things don't become a story in the future? And in so doing, tell us of the examples of what can be done now so that these things stop being a problem, because Kenyans are going hungry on a daily basis.
Yep.
It's dizzying.
It's completely annoying. But like many have said, even we Kenyans, we ought to do something. Like what Arnold is saying, when you're coming to address me, if you're not talking about this and what you want to do about it, not telling me what the government has.
No.
Ka uko. Tusiongeleshane.
Also coming in knowing that you also understand that if you keep people in a depressed state, they're more likely to listen to you.
Yeah.
So, come on. Speculation is rife about what this really could be playing out to be.
This is just all to get our attention.
Absolutely.
Oh, God. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll be here, God willing, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And do say goodbye and say what's coming next.
Goodbye. An hour of Sugar and Spice until 11 o'clock, and then Yolanda and DJ Absolute will take you through the afternoon until 2 p.m., after which Edward Quatch comes and drives you home on Spice Drive. Then the adults in the room will come in later to have conversations until 10 p.m. Sugar and Spice comes in after that. And we'll join you again tomorrow morning at 6.
Have a lovely day. Even CT says goodbye.
I do.
Yes, we'll be back tomorrow. It's now 10 a.m.